Well, this is Apostle Crystal Lee. I am extremely you tonight. I'm humbled by this time of Sukkot, 785, Feast of Tabernacles. I'm telling you, it's just been a journey. It's been an amazing journey. And I'm just excited to be a part of what the Father is doing. I'm excited to be able to just be a vessel that can be used in this time, sharing what the Father's heart is and identifying new realms and new chambers of his heart. It's absolutely amazing. I've got my sister on tonight, but before I bring her up, let me see, I can bring her up, but I'm going to definitely do the warning tonight because there may be some things that I discussed tonight that may definitely shake you up a little bit if you're religiously settled. And so we want to make sure that we are fair and give fair warning to the religiously settled and those that love the doctrines of devils and the doctrines of men and traditions and all that good stuff. I want to make sure I warn you before we even, before we get to this place. Uh, yeah, we want to make sure we give fair warning because I think that's fair. I think it's fair. So viewer discretion is advised. And this is a spiritual disclosure warning because the following session does contain content that may be disturbing to the religiously settled. It may challenge your doctrinal comfort zones. It's going to disrupt traditional programming. And it may even result in awakening and spiritual contractions and or identity rebirth. So viewer discretion is advised. And you're only encouraged to proceed if you're ready to trade your religious ideologies for spiritual inheritance. All right? That's just where I am. I think it's important to be fair. I want to be fair to people. I don't want to just be springing stuff on y'all and y'all like, oh my God, I didn't even know she was going to do all of that. Well, I'm telling you, I'm going to do some stuff. And so you may as well just be prepared for that. All right. I've got my sister on the line tonight. And I definitely am excited to have her here tonight to share this time with me, Prophetess Tamar. Would you just say good evening to the people, Prophet, so I can get this thing underway?
Blessings to all. Thank God for my amazing sister, Apostle Crystal Lee. I called her Apostle K, whom I honor and I love. And I can tell you all that you all are about to be in for one of the wildest rides on this side of heaven because she is going to drop some nuggets, and I can assure you that as you take these nuggets and you put them in the chambers of your heart and you allow these nuggets to shine and do whatever they need to do, I promise you, your life will never, ever, ever be the same. She is one that thinks outside of the box. She is one that you can't put in a box. She can't fit in a box, no matter how you shipper, shaper, stretcher, or whatever the case may be. She's definitely a Yah send. And I tell you tonight, we are in for the voice of God. Love it.
Blessings, Prophet. And I did not pay her to say any of that. I'm so excited to have her on this evening. And I believe that the Father is really going to reveal some things to us tonight that's really going to help the sons of Yah to move into their manifesting position. It is a cry of the sons. And I think a lot of people are concerned with what they're being challenged with in this moment. But this moment is about sharpening. This moment is about purifying. And so these situations are simply purifying and refining and sharpening mechanisms to prepare the sons for the next dimension that they're being called to, for the ascension that they're being called into. And that ascension is about ruling, it's about reigning, it's about adjudicating, it's about giving final directions in the earth from our heavenly seat. And so it's really important that we understand what the Father is doing. And when we begin to understand what the Father is doing, it first begins with us understanding who we really are. Once we understand who we really are, then and only then do we have an identity on what the Father is doing. Then and only then can we see, can we hear, can we sense. Only in that moment are our spiritual senses able to behold what he is saying and what he's doing. And so it's really important that we align ourselves in this season with what he is saying, what he is doing, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the world systems. There's a lot going on in the church systems. There's a lot going on in our familial systems. And all of these things across the board can become the greatest distractions to the sons in this season if we don't hanker down, if we don't get a hold of ourselves and identify what the Father is saying and what he's doing. This is the goal of the adversaries. This is the goal of diabolic nature, is to keep us distracted, because darkness knows that there's an end coming. Darkness understands the end even greater and even better than mankind understands the end. I mean, one of the things that I find very consistent and very apropos for the world and the age that we live in right now is where the Bible says they were eating, drinking, and being merry. like nothing was going on, like everything is just copacetic, everything is cool. And this is where we are. People are they're oblivious to the war that's going on spiritually. They're oblivious. They're thinking everything is so natural, and they're missing the spiritual warfare, the waging of warfare that is against mankind. They're using it in terms of alien and all of these different things. And alien simply means something that does not have rite of passage to be in the earth. Aliens can't be in the earth unless they've been given a passage, something that can't live here. How about that? They can't live here. So when we talk about alien, we're not looking at just these things that they're calling the grays and all of these things. Anything alien is something that was not formed for the earth. So angelic agents are alien. They're foreigners here. You know what I'm saying? They would be considered foreigners in the earth realm because they don't necessarily live here. These agents don't necessarily live here. Now, there are terrestrial and celestial angelic agents, of course. This is why you see Jacob, what they call Jacob's ladder. He's in this place that is holy ground that's already been established by his forefather as a holy place. And he's laying down in this place. He doesn't have a clue where he's at, but he begins to identify visions. And in the vision, he sees angels ascending and descending. You heard that right there. I didn't say descending and ascending. I said ascending and descending. And so this matters for us to know that there are angelic agents that are both in celestial and terrestrial realms. And they are both natural and spiritual entities, because the Bible declares that those that have been called to release the word are also referred to as angels. We're going to talk about some things tonight. And we need to get a hold of some things tonight so that we can better step into this ascension mode that the Father's calling us to. That mode that's in Isaiah, right? That mode that's in Isaiah chapter 60, I believe it is, where he's talking about the rise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory is risen upon you. This is necessary. You cannot arise until you recognize the glory. You cannot arise until you recognize the origins of things and where you are and who the Father is to you and what your purpose as a person is in the earth. And we're missing all of these things. And in missing those things, we are overtaken by so many things emotionally. Just naturally, we're emotionally overtaken by so many things because we don't have these basic tenets locked in our hearts, right? We were talking about a little bit last night, talking about receiving the word, right? But the word that is kept is the word that is used as a weapon. You cannot allow things to take the word out of your heart. You cannot allow thorns to choke out the word. So you have to become the ground that is good in order to keep the word, to use it against every adversarial force and against any malevolent forces that would try to get you off of the path that the Father has designed you to be on to get to your destined places. So let's read the opening tonight. I am going to start with the opening tonight. We have been on this Cipher thing since the beginning of this season. And I believe we started this season with Feast of Trumpets. Then we went to Yom Teruah was Feast of Trumpets. Then we went to Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. And now we're in Sukkot. And this entire time, the Father's been talking about the Cipher. So we definitely want to define those things again for you so you have some clarity on the definitions that we've been using, right? But I have titled this Identifying the Glitch in the Code of Man. And I don't know everywhere that the Father wants to go with that. I'm going to say this before I even read the opening. I've been all day really dealing with, I told my husband, I'm having a Daniel moment. And I talk about the Daniel moment all the time with you guys. But it's that moment when um, um, old code meets divine revelation is taking it to the ascended place or taking it to the next dimension. And when that, code that's in you is being unveiled, there's a constant revealing of things. But sometimes when you're looking at the thing that's being revealed, you don't really know what you're looking at. And so you'll notice that in scripture often when there were ascensions and realms being pierced and uh, divine agents there with the sons of Yah that are earthly sons of Yah, they would say, do you know what you're looking at? What do you see? And so often the sons would say, I don't know what I'm looking at. I was in that place today. I was in that place all day, really. And I was really concerned. Father, am I going to be able to teach tonight? Am I going to be able to get this done? Which is why it's 8:30 going on 9 o'clock before I'm teaching, because I'm ready to step into this conversation with you guys, because I was really battling, I mean, to tears since early morning, just in tears, just desiring to identify some things and talking to the Father about some different things that are absolutely disruptive to the religious industrial complex. But this is what I was born for. And I recognize that. Since a young child, I was born for the disruption. And when I was younger, I told my husband, when I was younger, I used to call myself, God's guinea pig, because I'm like, only he would tell me to do something like that. I ain't heard of nobody doing that. I'm only 11. I'm only 16. I'm only 12. All of these I'm onlys. And the Father poured some things into me. He seeded me. He caused me to have conception of the words that he spoke to me in those seasons for the divine revealing of those things in this season. And I'm humbled. That's all I can tell you. I believe that's the experience that he wants to give all of the sons. But we're going to have to lay down all of our concerns. We're going to have to lay down all of our, what's the word I want to use here? All of the things that concern us. Let's just stay there. All of the concerns, all of the anxiousness, all of that stuff got to be laid down, because we have to trust that what he is doing is for our good. What he is saying is for our good. How we are seeing things right now, even if they don't look like they're in our favor, they absolutely are working for our good. Okay. So let's look at what he's talking about with us tonight. We are still in the gods of Enigma. This is part 3, and we're still in the Enigma and the Cipher. So we're going to go into the opening, and we'll discuss the opening together, sis. So before the first rebellion, there were beings who stood in the brilliance of Yah's presence, and they stood there as co-laborers in the architecture of creation. Each of these held a frequency, just like we do, a function and a name inscribed with divine purpose. Everything that the Father created has a purpose. They were one with Yah in origin. They were light clothed in holy authority, assignment, and order, embodied expressions of the sound frequencies and constructs of heaven. Everything about them was a part of the Godhead. I know they use that word Godhead for Trinitarian stuff, but that's not. Godhead just means anything that he is related to, anything that's related to him. And so I'll maybe share that later in a passage that talks about the things that are of the Godhead are not related to gold and silver and wood and all of that stuff. So it just simply means anything that's connected to him, anything that is of him, cannot be defined by earthly, uh, uh, tangible, what's the word I want to use here? Temporal is more of a better word. Earthly temporal things, right? Like gold and silver. So in the mystery of iniquity, these sons, these brilliant ones, turned their purpose into pride. And these are the fallen ones who lost their first estate, abandoning their divine assignments in partnership with Yah, covering and seeking to steal, coveting and seeking to steal man's allegiance. I'm going to read that again because I want to make sure you're hearing this. And I'm going to blow this up because all of a sudden my eyes act like they tired. My eyes are acting tired. And it's crazy because my glasses are all the way in the back. So I'll go get them when I yield the floor and let you say something, sis. Or either I'll put on the Jeopardy music after I say something really crazy. And then, no, I'm just joking. I got to blow this up, though, just to make sure that we're good. I don't want it to cause us to have any further interruptions. So I'm going to highlight my whole note here, and I'm going to blow it up so that we don't have, there we go. That's a little better. There we go. Okay. I think that'll do us real good. All right. Now, these fallen ones lost their estate. They abandoned their divine assignment in partnership with the Father and began to covet and seek to steal man's allegiance. It was in that rebellion that they rewrote their purpose into parasitic programs. I'm not sure if we're going to get into the conversation about the parasites tonight, but somebody remind me. It may come up when we start talking about the Satans, right? Because these malevolent beings have a way of coercing man into a position that positions them to operate and animate through mankind, right? On different levels. And I believe parasites are one of the spiritual anomalies that are used to direct men, to kind of puppet master them, okay? Which is why the word declared to us that there were things that were clean and unclean. I believe that was a part of that. But, even in the discussion about clean and unclean, it only discussed animals. But you got to understand that the age that we live in, there's so many more unclean things because they're not food at all. So that just stands to reason that these are things that we potentially should not eat because of the position we might put ourselves in to give opening, to give way to malevolent entities, if that makes sense. So let me keep going on. They rewrote their purpose into parasitic programs and began corrupting the flow of divine intelligence and fragmenting creation's order. Those who were once the sons of Yah were ministers of light, becoming malevolent architects of deception, and they began weaving illusions to mimic the Creator's authority. This was a campaign of destruction, the destruction of creation, the main target being the Father's crown creation, which is mankind. And if you don't know that you are hated by dark hierarchies, then you are confused. If you don't know that, because of how you were created in the Father's image and in his likeness, in the likeness and the image of Elohim, then that's a problem for you, right? And we've kind of gone over the Elohim piece being a plural word, because he said, let us make man in our likeness and image. And a lot of people have in the religious industrial complex made that Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The reality is, let me share this with you real quick, and then I'm going to stop right there and I'll come back and read because I want Prophet to weigh in on some of the things she's hearing. You were also a reality in the mind of Yah. There is no boundary, no limit to his imagination because he is the God of gods. He has all authority, all sovereignty, and all of these other things. So you were in his mind, just as the Mashiach, Yeshua, that came to be the final sacrifice was in his mind for the purpose of coming into the world in the age that was appropriate for your purpose, if that makes sense. And so, there are things that kind of, I want to say, minimize the reality of the prototype called what most people in the religious world call Jesus, Yeshua. There's a minimization of that, because if you attempt to take away from him humanity, which was the purpose of him coming, then we don't have a prototype to follow. Even though he said, follow me, even though he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, even though he said, the things that I'm doing, you'll do also, and even greater works than these, right? So this prototype is the example of what sonship should be. And the difference between him and us, as far as sonship, was one, he was the final sacrifice to reset mankind back to the original setting if it's received. And two, he was the only begotten. Begotten doesn't mean anything but the fact that the Father, this is the only time the Father physically put his seed, his essence, in seed form into a woman's womb for a man to be born. That's the only time he's ever done that. Before, he breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And we know how we got here. We came here through our mother's womb, right? So I just wanted to clarify that, because there's a lot of technicalities around those kind of things, but people aren't understanding that they're missing the essence of what the Father really did and the purpose of what he did, because the same process that the master followed is the process that we are to follow, and the ultimate goal is still the same. This is why the word declares that we're seated in heavenly places, right? So it's not the master at the right hand of the Father in heavenly places, but it declares to us that even though we're in the earth realm, we have access to be seated, if we choose our seat, to be seated in heavenly places. That is the place of spiritual dimension where we make, where we co-labor, where we judge things, and where we are the king and the priest and the judge, right? And yeah, that's the place where we do all of that from, right? So, because it's not an earthly dimension, these are not earthly offices, although we operate on earth from the heavenly place. So I'm going to open up the line for a minute, because I need a Selah as I'm talking. I need a Selah, and I probably need some water, but I want to open up the line and let my sister share as she is hearing. Are you on the new one?
Are you on the new?
I'm trying to figure out if you're on the new thing or the one that you logged in on. Just text to me in the private chat. Okay, there we go. I'll bring you in now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, are you able to hear me?
Absolutely wonderfully, I can hear you.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I didn't want to say anything. I think that what I'm hearing right now, I can't say that I think, but what I'm hearing right now is we're out of place. We don't know our places, who we are in the kingdom of God or the kingdom of Yah. And because we don't know our places in the kingdom of God, in the kingdom of Yah, this is why we are inundated with defeats. This is why we're inundated with emotionalisms, all types of, should I say, all types of mechanisms of emotional strains and toils. And this is the reason why we cannot arise, because we do not know who we are. We don't know our places. And so you said something earlier about descending and ascending versus ascending and descending. And honestly, for all transparency's sake, I, never saw it in that light before. And I was like, that's huge right there. So we are definitely out of place. And I believe that once we get in place, we will be able to rule and to reign from a place of authority, and we'll be able to perceive and we'll be able to see things a little bit different than what we're actually experiencing now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It took me a minute because I was typing in the private chat. Anything I type in the private chat, I'm just typing notes to try to keep up with the conversation so that I don't miss any points that may need to be expanded on. And it's good that you brought those back up too, because what we are dealing with is we're called to be disruptors, but we're allowing ourselves to be disrupted.
Correct. It's like, right, we're supposed to be the ones to walk into atmospheres and shift it with our presence alone, without ever opening our mouths.
Yes.
We're called and chosen to be atmospheric disruptors.
That's right.
But we're not. We're the ones, like you say, being disrupted. And we're the ones over here with all of these emotional anxieties and depression and anguish and wondering and figuring and trying to piece together, trying to put together, this is delivering me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Trying to put all this stuff together because we don't really realize, or we're not capitalizing on who we are. And we are atmospheric disruptors. That's something that's the mantle. That's something that we can't change, but it's there. But are we tapping into it to walk into it? And I think that's what we're failing at.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And I typed, what causes the disruption of our knowing is the diabolic nature that we're giving access to, that we're giving way to. So the Father demands that we guard ourselves a specific way. And because we have not been taught how to guard, because we have not been taught how to man the gates, because we've not been taught what our authority is and what the weapons are, not only do we not know ourselves, but we have refused to identify our adversary. And one of the things that I was toiling with all day today, and I know it's late for a lot of people, but those that catch this going to catch something good tonight. It's going to shift you for real. Whether you're watching it live or by replay, you're going to be shifted forever. The reality is I was toiling with some things today and just honing in even further on these areas of definition, right? We've been instructed, and I believe I've got over the years I've attained some good identification on Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Of course, we'll never exhaust that because of the greatness and the vastness of who the Father is. So he is constantly revealing himself. As we read the scripture, we're constantly identifying the Son, right? And as we have experiential knowledge in these different realms and these ascensions and going into these different tests and purging or purifying mechanisms, we'll identify the Son even more, because the Bible says that if everything about him was written, it would be way too many books. It just wouldn't contain. Books wouldn't contain all that he did in the time that he was operating in his sonship dimension. And that's wild, because it was 3 years that he operated in that sonship dimension. The rest of that, he was growing into that. Now we know at 12, he began to identify. That was his identification time. He identified who he was, but we don't know all that he did between 12 and 30, but we do know that his ministry began at 30. So if the books could not contain all that he was operating in between 30 and 33, that should tell you that we're way behind. That should tell you we're way behind. The ascending and descending paradigm that you brought back up, for me, goes back to the celestial and terrestrial. That means mankind and, celestial beings, mankind and heavenly beings, right? So the ascending for me is that because we've been given this seat in the heavenly place, we are ascending. And then there's a descending. So there's a collaboration, there's a convergence of sons, both in both territories, in both dimensions. And this is why we're unstoppable. We really are. But we have to have identification on the things that we need identification on in order to understand the technology that we are in the earth, if that makes sense. So I'm going to keep reading. So I left off here the main target being the Father's crown creation, which is man. So that is malevolent natures, diabolic natures, main target is mankind. Don't ever get it twisted. The adversaries are not confused about their end. They're not confused. You'll know this even by when the master came in contact with the demoniac and he came running, and the question that the demonic spirits cried out and asked were, have you come to deal with us before our time? So don't ever be confused of the fact that the adversaries, that darkness, the whole realm of darkness understands it is defeated. The whole realm of darkness understands there is an end. But the goal of darkness is to carry off as many of the crown creation, as many of Yah's crown creation as it can. And I'm not giving direct pronoun like he, because it's not just that, it's a whole system of operation. And these are the other areas where we have gotten messed up at, because we've been confused by the use of, or the, what's the word I want to use here? People have used things like across the board, like devil and Satan, not the same thing. Lucifer, not the same thing, but all definitely in the hierarchy of malevolent entities, if that makes sense, right? So when we understand this better, then we're better able to have a grasp on what we are being called to do, how we're being called to navigate these systems. That first system of navigation, it's what's going on in your mind. And this is the playground. or it is either the fortress against darkness. It's the playground of darkness, or it's a fortress against it, because we've been commanded to arrest thoughts, take every thought captive. We've been commanded to think on these things. We've been commanded, we've been given specific things to learn and to know, so that when we get in a position, we can speak to a thing and see it move, right? We can speak to mountains and see it move. The Bible says, give no place to the adversary, but it also says, if you resist the adversary, he will flee. But the first thing that it says is submit yourself to the Father. So this is very simple. It sounds simple, and it is very simple. However, we have so many different ideologies and doctrines regarding all of these different parts and pieces of spiritual natures, and then we're confused because we get lost in that in the minutia of what is really what. You know what I mean? And it's funny because it's not just one person coming to me in this season and saying what I've heard today. It's multiple people saying, I don't want the guesswork no more. I'm sick of leaders who don't have an answer. I can't do the business as usual thing anymore, because it's critical for me right now. And that critical thing that you're feeling internally verifies your sonship. For one, it verifies that you're a son. It's verifying that you're being called into a space, called into a place, but it's also verifying for you that you must ascend, that you must come up higher. I dreamt this conversation just a few days ago. It is just now dawned on me. I love that when that happens, but it's also verifying that you need to come up, right? That there's another place that you must ascend to. You can't stay in the place that you're in. You got to ascend, right? Far above principalities and powers and over all the works of darkness. You have to ascend. That means your mind, you have to be in a higher place in order to deal with these diabolic entities. You can't deal with them on the level of flesh. You can't deal with them on the level of your anxiety, on the level of your distorted ideas about who you are not, and all of those things. That thing has to come under subjection. It has to come into the unity of how you were created, likeness and image, and given dominion. All of these things were original identity. So as a son, these are things that are inherent for us. These are things that have been inherited by us. And so we're to operate from the inheritance and not just from our earthly bloodline. Now, there are things that are still, feasible in the bloodline, things that you should recognize, whether diabolic or divine. We got to identify with those things in order to deal with the things that we're coming up against. However, I'm telling you, if you've received the finished work of the Mashiach, and you've stepped into that space, and you have acknowledged that and made confession concerning that, and you believe in your heart that he did not stay dead, that the Father raised him, this is an identity that you have as a son, that nothing that can come against me. These are all very prophetically significant to the lifestyle of the believer. And if you stepped into that space, then you must understand that you're being called to ascend above the things that are challenging you. Come on, sister, say something.
Woo! My God.
Selah moment.
My God. Yeah, you just did. Let me take a Selah. Yeah, I got to take a Selah on this one, because what I'm hearing is the lost identity. We don't know who we are. You said something, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee.
That's the order.
First, that's the order. So because, and Lord knows I'm so because we've lost our identity, because we need to come up higher, we're fighting unnecessary battles. We're fighting. This is why the strength. This is why we say, well, I can't go, quote unquote, another farther.
Absolutely.
I can't do life anymore. I'm done. This is just too much for me to bear. Knowing that Yah will put no more on us, or than we can bear. Because we've lost our identity, we're not seated in heavenly places. we're operating beneath who we are. So because we're operating beneath who we are, this is where the excessive weight comes in at, because we don't know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are over here. You said something earlier about the demon said, don't torment us before our time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, I just said this the other day, everything has an expiration date: bread, milk.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has your driver's license has an expiration date on them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when you first get driver's license, I don't know what the requirement is in some states. I don't know if you have to go back 2 years and, you know, get them renewed or whatever the case may be. And then as you drive, you go with a clean record. Then they advance you. You may not have to go back for another 5 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then you drive with a clean record and you adhere uh,
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, to the rules and to the regs, to the laws of the land, then they say, okay, well, you can just come back every 7 or 8 years. Why? Because you are ascending.
That's it. You're
You
moving through
are
the ranks.
ascending. Oh God, Lord. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm done. I'm messed up over here.
Come on, we gotta be in that place. So the
Yeah.
problem is that we think that darkness. Here's the issue where people get all messed up. The problem is that we think that darkness is an automatic enemy and not an elevation.
Woo.
And it doesn't really matter from what perspective we're seeing or identifying with this darkness, because the reality is that the darkness is an enigma. It's a
Mhm.
mystery. It's a secret. But it's the Father's position. This is what he does. It's his will to conceal it. It's his nature to conceal it. Why is he concealing it? Not to hide something from us, but to provoke us to come and seek. He's provoking us to inquire,
Come on.
right? So it's funny because you mentioned the too much to bear. This is too much, right? But what the Father said to me when you said that was, too much to bear is the language of Cain, who was a profaner of Yah and a murderer of all things divine. He was a profaner and a murderer. And he was whining because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Hear me by the Spirit now. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. His face was all scrunched up. He did stuff out of the order that was supposed to be done. And now he's feeling some kind of way because what he's done is now a testimony against him in the moment, right? Because his brother's blood is crying out. So now he's got a testimony against him. But instead of, before he got to that point, when the Father came to him and flat out said, why your face all messed up, Cain? You know, if you just do right, I'll accept your offering too. If you do right, I'll accept you too. But Cain was dogged set on, I'm going to kill this boy because I have an issue with him being accepted and me not being accepted. He said, no, I'm not, this ain't about you per se, but it is a type and shadow, right? Because at the end of the day, what you bring to me, if it's not pleasing to me, then you're not pleasing me at all. Right? So the things that we do have to be done and have to be of faith. In faith. Not faith in the situation, but faith in Yah. Faith in our Father. He gave me a word years ago, and this was when I was going through some different challenges and changes. And I often identify with this word to make sure that I stay in a space. Because you're going to, you know, there are going to be challenges on different levels, you know, and different, different weights of challenge, right? And he said, if you can't track me or trace me, you should still be able to trust me. If we're in a relationship, you may not be able to track him or trace him. But if you're in intimate relationship, that just simply means that you don't know everything that he's doing. You don't know every little thing. So some things you're looking at, you like, I don't even know. Do we have to go this way? The master did the same thing. That's why I love the fact that he was the sacrifice, because he was touched in all points like we are. Tempted, yet without sin. He understands who we are at the core, because he was processed through all kinds of things, just like we are. He said, do we got to do it this way? That's a real question that a son can ask. But ultimately, if you are authentically a son, you arrive at the place that the master arrived at, and that's not my will, but yours be done. Anything less than that, you might need to check your sonship subscription. You might need to check your card, check your sonship license, because at the end of the day, our last desire, at the end of the day, after everything is said and done, after we have looked and seen all that we consider gross darkness or whatever's going on in our lives and whatever we're processing through, the escape route ain't the thing. The escape mechanism ain't the thing. It's, Father, your will be done. However you want to do this, I'm open for that. That's what I'm open for. And long gone are the days when I just felt like I had to have a specific setup and specific. I don't know if I really leaned into that really far. I think that's what always has made me different. I think in another season, I felt some kind of way about being different, because I felt like everybody else got a way that they do things that, well, their way all look the same too. But I'm like, why my way got to look different? He said, because you are different. I've set you apart. There's no way in the world you're going to look like everybody else in how you do what I'm calling you to do when I've set you apart. And those that are set apart will have similarities, but they will still yet all be very unique because of who they are and the different characteristics and personality and all of that stuff that they carry. So when you look into the religious industrial complex, you see some very consistent threads that run through there. People changing their voice to say something. How I talk, if you talk to anybody that has my phone number, okay, how I preach is how I talk. I'm passionate. If I'm passionate, I'm passionate. If I'm chilling, I'm chilling. But it's no difference. I don't have to go to my cartoon voice to preach a message. I don't have to become another character to preach the message. It's little things that, religious industrial complex has presented to us that they don't know the place that it comes from. We're going to talk about these hierarchies in a minute, but they don't understand the place that it comes from. Let me share something with y'all. And then I'm going to go back to reading the opening. It's the longest I've ever taken on an opening, but I love it because the Father doing what he wanted to do. I was reading yesterday, and the Father always bringing something to my attention, sis. It's the wildest thing. I was reading yesterday about, because, people they just love, they're so enamored by, on one hand, they're enamored by the times of slavery, and on the other hand, they're pissed about slavery, but they're enamored by their ancestors some kind of way. We're enamored by that, right? Because we want to utilize that moment as a reason to be upset with other cultures or whatever, Here's the thing. I was reading about, and this is very consistent and indicative of the nature of Israel, the Hebrew children, which is why we see so much famine and blasting and, pestilence and all of these different things in all these different areas, right? Because people worship other gods. So the slaves were often dealing in ancestor worship. So this was brought to my attention yesterday. I don't even know how I got to this. It's just the craziest stuff. This happened to me a couple of weeks ago when I was sitting down with my mother-in-law, and I was like, I want to watch something. I said, okay, I got the remote, and I picked up the remote, and I was looking for something specific, and I wasn't finding it. Somehow I wound up on this movie. And then the next time, somehow I wound up on this next thing. And all of them were indicative of what the Father was speaking to me, as a matter of fact, indicative of the conversation that we had that day, because she asked me a lot of questions about spiritual things. And so we had these conversations earlier in the day, and here come this thing to back up what I said. It was the wildest thing. But here's the thing. I don't know what I was about to say. What was I about to say? Where was I at, sis? Tell me. Tell me. Because I really just went off into the ether somewhere, and I got to find a way back.
No, sis, you're flowing. Just keep
Okay,
flowing.
tell me where I
Just
was
keep
at.
flowing.
Tell me where I was at when I was getting ready to share before I started talking about the movie.
You were
And
talking about Israel.
okay, very indicative of how Israel functioned. They were involved in ancestral worship or worship of other entities or whatever, right? And so this thing about the ring shout came up. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Here we go. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I have danced in my lifetime more than you all, not just in the church, not just and in open places, but at home. However, there are certain things that I know are connected to certain things because it's now being even more so revealed than it ever was before. So, how the praise break, where the praise break came from, is this ring shout. And what would happen is, this is so crazy and prophetic at the same time, because if I'm thinking about colonization, that's usually the mindset that most people read the scripture from, the colonization. So you're reading what was told to you, and you don't know that what was told to you was passed down from those that you call your oppressors, right? The understanding of it was passed down from your oppressors. Even the way you delivered the message was passed down from your oppressors. So what they would do is they would go to church with their oppressors first on Sunday, right? But after church, they would have their own services. And this is when the uneducated, would take whatever the message was and have their own message. But they would go through these different things, like they would dance. They had the freedom to dance. Now, I think the oppressors kept them from playing drums because they felt like the drums was a signal of some kind or giving some kind of message, like the dance wasn't. But they was like, nah, no drums, right? But the dance, the praise break that we now know of as a praise break, held from this ring shout. And they would go in a circle and they would shout and do these different dances and these different adulations and motions and all this. And it had everything to do with footwork and all these different things. And what they were doing was stirring up the ancestors to assist them with their captivity. I don't know. This thing just, it took me straight out. It took me straight out. When I tell you, I sat up so straight, I was like, ooh. Because all I could hear was the Father saying, don't worship me like they worship their gods. Now, there's nothing wrong with you dancing before the Father. David danced, but this is not the same dance. Okay? We're talking about something completely different here. Right? And my mind was just blown. But I'm telling you, when you desire to know him, when you become intimate with him, he'll begin to show you things that are very disruptive.
Which is
Very, very
scary.
disruptive. Okay. And yeah, I was blown away. I was like, wow. And so now we come to this age, and I've said this myself, even as one who worships, even as a worshiper, I've said this myself. This is like a clown show now. People don't praise and worship the Father because he's good, because he's, almighty, because he's sovereign. They don't worship him as the all existing one. They're not worshiping him in a purity anymore. Now it's a show because we're taking cameras and we're trying to capture who's dancing the best and whose moves are the best. And all. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just like, wow. When I saw that, I was like, makes sense. Understood. And we don't never know unless we really identify the heart of the matter, what could be the thing that people are tapping into. What could you be tapping into just emulating everything that you see somebody else do? You have no clue what you could be tapping into in that emulation. You understand? I see you, elder. Love you. I see you, chosen one. Thank you so much for being on. Much love to you. Yeah, you don't have any idea what you could be tapping into, which is why it's so important to be intimate with the Father, because he'll tell you what he don't like. He'll tell you. You won't have to wait on somebody else. He'll tell you. You'll sense it. But see, that's the place that he's calling us to, where we're so sensitive to his needs and where we're so sensitive to his voice. right? That we know. We can see his face. We can see the look on his face. It's like, the look your parent give you when you done went south. And all they got to do is do that look. They ain't got to say nothing. It's just a look. And you automatically know, I'm out of line. Yeah, let me pull it together. Let me tighten up. Let me tighten up, right? So I was really amazed by that finding yesterday. I'll probably talk more about it, but I really just want to place that there as a bookmark for later, right? So the main target is the crown creation, which is us. So this is where the emergence of the gods of Enigma, the mysteries, the gods of secret, and the secret bearers began to take their position. Because what people need to understand is that these are not mythical deities, but distorted reflections of once holy intelligences. They are corrupted codes embedded in the matrix of creation, sustaining their dominion through deception, desire, and divided worship. We call that mixture. They traded the glory of Yah for the glory of themselves. And in doing so, they introduced the counterfeit light, the profane mirroring of the holy things. Counterfeit light. You say, well, how is it light? Well, the Bible declares he didn't take the light, but the light now is counterfeit because it's not wholly authorized. So there's a clarity that needs to take place in who the fallen ones are. And I feel like I'm jumping ahead of myself, way ahead of myself, but I'm going to say it anyway, and I'll come back to it. So I've been, in this space for a while. And so you kind of got to give bits and parts and pieces so that people can start putting the puzzle together. But today it was just like, just say this, just say it. So when we understand who they were, that they were the gods that were in the council, in the divine council, go to Psalm 82. We'll pull up the verses so we can read about the divine council, who are gods, that were the ones that were the conversation of let us make man in our image and our likeness, right? When you look at that, then you understand, and then you understand the stars, and those that have been following me for some time, the stars are angelic agents. If you understand that an angelic agent is a messenger, and you understand that the gods were messengers or given dominion over the nations in Genesis chapter 11, then you understand that these are one and the same, right? So I was struggling today with some things because there's so many different opinions about some things. Like when we start talking about demonic spirits, then we got the concept of, these are theological concepts. I'll say that. I won't say we have. Theologically conceptualized as the spirits of the fallen or those that were killed, the sons of the Rephaim, which would have been the Nephilim. But here was the problem with that. If when people die, their spirits go to a place, and these Nephilim were part man and part angelic agent, then it would stand a reason that their bodies would go through the same process, or their spirits would go through the same process as mankind, especially if they were rejected, right? They would have to go to one space or another. So I said, that can't be the thing, because why they spirits get to roam? This is superstition. Why do their spirits get to roam if they're dead? Right? Doesn't make sense. Well, what does make sense, what is clear to me, is that these malevolent gods that were in the council that left their first estate, I know they said angel, and people automatically think wings, and you're automatically thinking all those things, but they are simply angelic agents, are simply messengers. They're divine messengers that are sent to deliver messages that the Father desires for man to have, right? Which is why you got these divine council members that have been cast out, giving information to mankind before it should be given. We saw that in the garden, right? Because a lot of people think, this information that was given, maybe they should have never had it. It is not an issue of them never having it, even though it was twisted. It's not an issue of them never having the information. It was clear they were already as the gods. They were made in that image and likeness. So that wasn't the issue there. The issue was that the conversation was premature. That was part of the conversation. It was premature conversation. Not only was it premature, but it was also twisted. And we understand the nature of darkness, the nature of malevolent is to blaspheme, is to profane, is to use great swelling words against the Most High. And when they use great swelling words against the Most High, it's not that they're cursing, using curse words and saying bad things. They are saying things that sound right but are wrong to mislead man intentionally. I'm going to open the floor on that.
All right, so I don't know if I'm allowed to go back.
You are?
Woo, I want to talk about this dance.
Oh, God.
That has messed me all the way up because I sat here and I said, okay, pardon my vernacular when I use this analogy, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah. Yep. That's part of the
So,
issue. That's part of the issue already.
right. And here's the reason why, because it's not like you stated, we don't worship, most are not worshiping because we love Yah, because of our relationship, our passionate relationship with him.
No,
It's just called hype entertainment.
that's it.
It's the performance enhancement drug called hype.
Yeah.
And what bothers me, this is why I've been stealth and not walked into per se a physical entity in going on August, September, August, 3 months now. Because the dance, when I look at the dance, all of it looks exactly the same.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay,
What
yeah,
are we doing here?
what are we
It's like
doing?
going into a place and everybody's tongues is the same.
Yeah. So I'm sitting over here. I'm mellowed out on that piece right now. I hated to go all the way back.
No, fine. You're good.
This has really confirmed a lot of things for me because now I understand what I'm seeing, not just in the physical building, but what I'm seeing on TV, what I'm seeing on all these social media platforms.
Yes.
Everybody, but if you look at it, and I know you have, 90 to 95% has the exact same dance.
It's all the same concept.
It's all the
Even
same
if it's not the
concept.
exact same dance, it's the same concept of it.
It's no deliverance. It's nothing. It's nothing spiritual about it. To a degree, as it relates to the authentication of of the identification of our relationship with Him, but it identifies with the performance mechanism where it's like, yeah, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mess me up. I'm done.
Mess me up too. I'm like, hang up the phone, Father.
Yeah, it's definitely hype. It's definitely, it's all we see right now is hype. It's all we see is hype in a lot of these places called church. It's hype. The presence of God is Ichabod written over the door.
I said it the other day. Absolutely right.
Ichabod is written over the door. There are no miracles. There are no signs. There's no wonders.
Unless they're lying signs and wonders. Don't get it twisted.
Right, lying signs and wonders. Yes, there's the fake or the counterfeit.
There's that.
There's that component to it, and it's like, okay, what are we doing? Why do I need to, as a prophet? Yes, I'm an atmosphere disruptor, and in the wee hours of the morning, I promise you, Apostle, the Lord began to speak and begin to deal with me and begin to tell me what was going on in these churches.
He did that to me at 16.
And so what you're saying is spot on what he told me this morning, probably around between 3 and 4 o'clock this morning.
Oh yeah, that's when I start crying.
And I just laid there like speechless, like, and he's nowhere in it.
Nope.
And it's counterfeit, it's fake, it's phony, it's hype, and they really think that God or Yah is in the place, and he's nowhere to be found. He's not.
But the problem with it is that not only is it fake, but it is fostering an opening of the gates and fostering access of diabolic spirits and principalities and powers into the lives of the people that are in the space.
So, do you think that? Let me ask this question now. I know, back in some cultures like the Indians, they do what's called a rain dance.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. Where they quote unquote they.
Yeah, because if they were serving Yah, here's the truth, and I got Indian ancestry all throughout,
Me
my
too.
blood.
Yeah.
But we get so caught up in that kind of stuff that we miss the reality that they were idol worshipers. And that doesn't mean everybody was, but for the most part, the culture and the traditions of these original peoples became idolatrous because of their inability to sustain the way, the truth, and the life, right? And the mixture of that age. Some people just weren't willing to die, so they just adopted the principles and the practices of the other cultures and of the other,
Right. So what they're basically doing, if I'm hearing you correctly, so basically with these dances and these rituals, because it's rituals,
it is.
it is what it is. They're basically summoning or
Mhm.
these.
Summoning gods. Okay, but check this out. So I'm jumping ahead of myself again too.
I'm sorry.
No. This is fine because anytime we're doing that, the Father is leading us in a direction, and I love that. Okay, so you don't have to apologize.
Okay.
Here's the reality of that: the gods were given charge over the nations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but instead of them pointing the people to Yah, they began to covet the allegiance of mankind and wanted it for themselves. Thus, you wind up with rain dances and all these other kind of things. But if you remember, see, this is why scripture is important. If you remember in scripture, the Father made clear to the children of Israel when they got to finally got into the promised land. This land is not like the land of Egypt, where your ancestors had to do all the things that they had to do, build watering systems and all that. They had to do a bunch of stuff. No, this land I watch it with my own eyes, and I make sure that it gets what it needs. So the reason why rain doesn't happen in places, even if you think about Elijah and what he said to Ahab about there be no dew nor rain at my word. Why? Rain is lacking in these spaces because pure worship is lacking in these spaces. Worship to Yah. People have left their worship of Yah for the gods that are now the fallen ones that are gods, right? And instead, now they're getting whatever they're getting, which is why in Psalm 82 he says, how long are you going to judge unjustly? How long are you going to do what you're doing the way you're doing it? He saw the way that they were going. He saw that they were not doing as they should. So he scolded them in Psalm 82. But I believe at some point that was the first warning, and then there was a transition, an eviction, but they yet still rule over the nations, and that began in Genesis chapter 11, where the table of nations, which is what roughly 70 nations are made up out of all of the lineage of Noah and his sons. And so he divided those that had fallen. They were divided over those nations. Thus, you have a separation in the other nations and in the nation that the Father chose for himself. Are you there?
Of course, I'm here. Woo, my God. Selah.
Selah.
Yeah.
I'm reading Chosen 1777. Like in the book of Ezekiel, the glory has left the building. That's it. From the hearts of the people. It's not in the hearts of the people. It's not in the building. And he's left many buildings that are the edifice of man, who we are. So this is the ultimate, I'm going to leave you alone piece here. Because if I'll leave the building that I had created for me to dwell among you, you know what I'm saying? Then I'll definitely leave you as an individual if you don't make your habitation suitable for me to dwell. Oh yeah, we are. Oh, we haven't seen anything. And I think I've been saying for the last couple of days, something is coming down the pipeline because he started shifting me into this conversation about the blood, and how O blood type is neutral and can be used by A and B. The whole conversation. He did this with me the year before the scamdemic. He did the exact thing before. So I said, something's coming. This must be the second half of the scam. So we got to brace ourselves. We got to get in the right position so that we'll be in the seat of authority when these things happen. We'll be the light that people can come to and they won't get tied up, because they got to do a second wave of interrupting people's DNA. They got to do a second wave of trying to take over the likeness of men, because all of this is affecting likeness. You know, it's all of this is going to affect image and likeness. Your DNA is, if you did that, you got to understand the Father's made a way of escape for you. However, it was for the purpose of disrupting your DNA and changing who you are on the foundational level as a man. Anywho, there'll be more of that. This was the separation work and all of the people in his day, because the Bible says that Noah was a righteous man. And that word righteous means that he was not contaminated. He was not changed. There was no change in his foundation. They had contaminated plants and animals, which is why everything had to die. And only the things that were put on the boat and only the 8 that got on the boat were saved, because they were the ones that had not yet. They had not been contaminated. Their DNA was still pure. So what are they doing in this age to contaminate the DNA, which is why this is called the God of Enigmas. They are mysteries. These gods that were the fallen ones, they have a lot of mysteries going on. They have a lot of secrets going on. And the average masses are not interested in those things. They're too busy watching television. They're too busy playing games. They're too busy watching who's fighting who left who. They're too busy in political ideologies and all the stuff, using all their energy for that. While all that's going on, the likeness of the likelihood of the digital currencies and digital IDs and all these different things are coming now. I thought that was amazing too, because what the Father was talking to me about was the antigens, which are the IDs of the blood cells. And either that day or the next day, he started showing me that they were actually rolling out these digital IDs, because they're rolling them out overseas. So all of you who think, moving is going to help you, listen, you got to understand something. Now, geographically, I did prophesy to you guys the other day, to many of you the other day, that there's a geographical shift that's going to take place for a lot of us. And that is still a fact. But if you're thinking that moving overseas or moving somewhere like that is going to protect you from the end of the age, or protect you from, the things, or it's going to be somehow protection. No, your protection is a secret place. Your protection is your relationship with the Father and your covenant with him and your brothers and sisters. That's your safe space, right? But all the rest of that, it's not going to change anything, because everybody's in bed with each other. The nations are colluding, because the gods over the nations are in control. And I don't know how somehow people can't see that. They're thinking they're going to circumvent the foolishness. And the only way you're going to circumvent foolishness is through your relationship with the Father. That's the only way. The intimacy is going to give you the insight that you need to position yourself regarding anything that's coming down the pipeline. If you don't have that, you're going to be subject. You're going to be, susceptible to whatever tyranny is going on. And believe me, there is tyranny going on, not just in our space, but it's been going on all over the world. We're just seeing it closer to us now, but these things have been planned. These things must be. So while people are getting all up in arms about this stuff, the word says nation will rise against nation, I mean, it's written. It's not, this is not rocket science. When you see these things, know that the end is near. Okay. Do you see the things? Okay. If the end is near, the question is, are you prepared to step into your sonship authority? Or are you sleeping? Are you prepared or are you sleeping? Do you have oil or do you not have oil? That's the question. Come on, prophet.
Oh my God, you got me over here typing. Powerful intimacy is the only thing, as you stated, that's going to give us the insight that we need. Because it's a whole lot of left, right, up, down.
Earl back.
Um,
I can't even believe people that call themselves believers are really entangled in that.
I mean,
The
when I
Father has
get
his own government, and we're not even concerned about his government.
facts,
We're concerned about that government.
truth, and it's like it's a whole distraction
It is.
from what's really going on behind the scenes.
It is.
I mean, what we're seeing right now with this shutdown and all this kind of stuff? No, 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 no. It's something bigger.
Yeah, the digital ID.
Yes, that's going on behind the scenes, but the detractors and the distractions won't deter the disruptors.
That's it. Period. Say it again.
The detractors and the distractions will not deter the disruptors.
Period.
That's it.
Now you talking my language.
No.
Come on.
That's it. That's it.
So the gods have emerged and they got all these secrets, all these things, and we're looking at the things. So when I say secrets, it doesn't mean that it's not visible, because some stuff is in plain sight. But if you don't understand what you're looking at, you'll be emotional. You'll go to that side of things, the flesh side of things, instead of, Father, what am I looking at? What should I be seeing? I can't tell you the last time I ever watched news.
Oh my God, you took my thoughts. I was like, I cannot tell you when the last time.
But guess what? The news gets to me.
The news gets to me because I'm focused on the kingdom. What is God saying? What's going on?
Period.
A lot of people are caught up in the current events.
That's what it is.
Lord, okay.
The current revealed events.
Correct.
Yeah, the current events that they want you to see.
That they want you to see, because all of it is distraction.
Distraction.
From what's really, like you say, the digital ID that's going on. This other part of this, something that's going to be worse than COVID-19.
Yeah.
That's being created in a lab and all this kind of stuff right now.
Yeah.
And ready to go out. Really, it's already created and it is ready to go out.
Yeah, been ready.
Been ready.
Holding back because, and we'll use hokey pokey and scamdemic, because they might get mad at us if we say.
I'm sorry, scam.
No, you're okay. You're okay. You didn't know.
Scamdemics, Lord. Okay.
Yeah, scamdemic and hokey pokey is what I would say.
Hokey pokey, where you turn yourself around and see what we're all about.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about for them.
Yeah.
So many different distractions, right? And at the end of the day, all of this is so that you can be identified as marked by one or the other. Are you divinely marked? Are you marked as the Son of Yah? Or are you receiving the mark of the beastly system? Because that deals with allegiance. What you're giving your attention to is what your allegiance is to. There's no neutral ground. So when I say secrets, I'm not saying that it's not seen. I'm saying that it's not revealed what is being done, literally. It's something under the current. You know what I'm saying? There's an undercurrent. Not just the surface, but there's an undercurrent. And so I said these aren't mythical deities. They are distorted reflections of the holy intelligences. That's what they are. And they are corrupted codes that are embedded in the matrix of creation in an attempt to corrupt the code of creation. Okay? In this conversation, We're going to share some of the names, but we're also revealing the difference between the holy and the profane. And that's what this conversation is about. You got to discern the lines that separate true light from false illumination. And we'll use the sword of Enigma that we've been talking about to cut, so that revelation becomes discernment, and discernment guards the divine code of Yah from compromise. This is the protection from the glitches in our, potential glitches in the code. The gods of Enigma is therefore not to put you in fear, because this is not a conversation about fear. This is an empowering conversation for sons. This is to empower you and help you identify your fidelity to the divine code that you have been given, how to protect that, the pattern of purity that keeps us and all of creation aligned with the source, our Father. To study them, these, malevolent deities, you got to know who they are. To study them and to understand is to understand how darkness counterfeits design and how pure light exposes and destroys its works. That's what we're doing, okay? I want to say this. When I started this journey of the last Moeds, which started with the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah, and went to Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, and came on over to Sukkot, and we got one more day tomorrow, which is the 8th day. This whole journey started with one word, and that word was sign, S-I-G-I-N. I said, Father, what are we talking about? And the first word he gave me was sign. Y'all could type it in the chat. Sign was the very first word. Very first word. I was like, wow, okay. Sign, huh? All right, so what's that mean? You got to ask, because maybe the definition, but you got to ask from what perspective. You got to realize that all things are existent by virtue or evidence of a sign, some distinguishable mark that announces its presence or what it is, right? So a sign can be for you to recognize or acknowledge something, or it can be for you to be for you to be recognized. So I'm gonna say it again. A sign can be for you to recognize or acknowledge something, or the sign could be something that allows you to be recognized, if that makes sense. So an enigma is related to the sign that's veiled or shrouded or unclear. But the enigma is the distinguishing mark that requires deeper study and a cipher in order to decode it, right? Enigma is related to this sign. It's usually that enigma is something that's veiled, is shrouded or unclear. It's not normal to the sight. In other words, you can't clearly see it. But the enigma is a distinguishing mark that's going to require deeper study and a cipher in order to decode it, a key. The cipher is a key, something that unlocks something. And I want to mention this to you, that the cipher is also for encoding. That's what is, that's how the Bible is written. It's encoded. That's why you see things when you read it once and then you see something new. It's not erasing what you saw before unless you got that doctrine from somebody and you didn't identify with the revelation, and you don't have scripture compounded on scripture to reveal that. So when you hear people, you ask a question and they give you a blanket answer and it's only one verse that they use and they're massaging that verse to make it mean that. That's not the same as having 2 or 3 witnesses. That's not the same as, the scripture interpreting itself. And you study to show yourself approved. That means you understand the meaning of words that are written in order to identify what's being said there. You can't take the Bible on its face and think that you know what it means. It's not possible. You're going to be lost. But if you study to show yourself approved, then you'll identify the things that you need to identify. You'll identify. I was just telling somebody the other day, I'm going to read through the Bible again in a week or 2. It's 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, because my husband will be on the road for a week. I ain't got nothing but time. Sun up to sundown. So I'll cook some meals so My mother-in-law can eat. And she'll probably read with me. But that's the goal. I'm gonna read through it again. Why is this necessary? Because you got to give the Holy Spirit something to work with and something to pull from when you're needing information to be revealed, when you're seeing something. Because oftentimes the thing that you're reading is the cipher for what you're seeing. But if you don't read nothing, if you don't know nothing, and understand too, please don't be of those that have the idea that if you only read the Bible, you're good. You need to read things. You need to know things. Do you know that Solomon's clarity and understanding of all of those things in nature and all that stuff was because he was taught something? You can have a level of gifting that takes you in a direction, but you still got to enhance the skill. We're going to talk about skill in just a minute. You still are called to move forward or advance your knowledge in the gift set. You still have to advance the skill level. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, come on, say something, Prophet. You sound like my brother now. You be like, woo wee.
I'm over here. I done threw my phone in the lake, went back out there and got it, and came back. I'm like,
I love these conversations. And don't you just love how the Father speaks to us? See, like, okay, just for example, because you already made a statement. You said, this is for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you love how I don't have to work nothing up?
Nope.
I don't have to give you no false prophetic word.
Nope.
All I'm doing is delivering the message that he gave me.
That's it.
And it's unlocking you to
Yes.
greater clarity and bringing you out of a space.
Yes.
It's delivering you from the space that the adversary wanted to oppress you in.
Absolutely.
It don't take no tap dance.
Nope.
No circus clowns.
I don't have to stand in $1,000 line.
You don't have to stand in a line, sis. The Father's going to embarrass religion in this hour. I promise you.
You hear me? I promise you. Because when you said the word sign,
Mm-hmm.
the scripture that came to my mind.
Come on, tell me.
These signs,
yes,
shall follow them that believe.
Yes.
So looking at where we are now, quote unquote, in the church, the body of Christ, whatever you want to call it.
Religious industrial complex is what I call it.
Yeah, religious industrial complexes. The religious industrial complex organizations, the RICOs.
Mm-hmm.
The RICOs.
Oh my God, the religious RICOs. Come on now. Woo.
The RICOs.
Yeah.
This is why so many, and when I say, because now okay, so let me just talk about me for a minute, where we are.
Okay.
Okay, so Vicks. Have you ever heard of Vicks vaporizer?
Oh yes.
Okay, so when we were young,
yes,
ma'am,
I grew up on that.
Right, Mama used to rub it on our chest.
Yes.
You know, if we had a cough or a cold or something like that when we were younger, it opens you up. It begins to all of the mucus and all of the things that congested us. The Vicks vaporizer or the Vicks rubs, it was something, it penetrated, although she rubbed it on our chest, it penetrated. I still don't understand how that worked. Come on here, somebody.
It penetrates the dermis and the chemical components of that. What is this? I could tell you in a moment once I think about it. What Vicks is made up of is a natural component, and that natural component's chemicals penetrate the dermis and begin to get into the bloodstream and begin to open up the passageway.
Come on. All right, now let me go somewhere real quick, and I promise I'm gonna get off.
No, you good.
So this word, this kingdom shot in the arm.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like a big
The diabolic kingdom shot in the arm.
that has been like a Vicks vapor rub for me tonight.
Oh, wow.
It has opened me up.
Oh, you talking about the conversation. Okay, I was on the hokey pokey.
No,
Forgive me.
no, no, no. I'm on the hokey pokey too now.
Okay, forgive me.
But
That's not what you're talking about right now, though.
no, not right now. But this conversation, this platform, this kingdom shot in the arm
Yes.
has opened me up.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this is the best because my process of thought is just totally different. It's like I'm standing up somewhere now and I'm looking down at what attempted to oppress me.
Come on now. You're over it now.
I'm over it now. I'm standing up, I'm looking down, and I'm like, oh my God, that tried to oppress me.
Now wait. I gotta make it for a second. Because when I called you, you was deep in your stuff.
I was
And
deep in my stuff.
You know that your sister gonna call you. Ask Elder Vicky. You can ask Elder Vicky. She on here. She'll tell you in a heartbeat. When she was deep in her stuff, I would ring the phone. I'd be
When
like,
I say
where you at?
Sniper, like an eagle-eye sniper.
Where you at, Elder? Like every time. What in the world?
That's what I tell her. Like, okay, man, what you like?
She said, I got nothing to say. I'm in this space. Come on.
I was like, I ain't got nothing to say. I said, I'm in this space. I said, I got this going on. I got that going on. I said, this has been the week.
I said, good. You getting on live with me tonight.
That's exactly what she said. I said, no. I said, and when I went to go pick up some personal things, I said, you would not believe what I saw. And I said, I saw something, and I'm growing in grace and age. 4 black cats, like one under each one of my tires.
And that's okay. We're not.
And so now here I am, and I'm standing up and over, looking down at this stuff that tried to take me away from, and tried to congest me with all of this. Lord, I'm done. Yeah.
Minutia of darkness.
Minutia of darkness. Completely. Now I'm sitting here and I'm looking around like like a weight. It's like the layers. It's like the layers have like come off this heavy coat that I was wearing. It's like it's off.
Mm-hmm.
So this enigma.
That's how I see.
Penetrated. It's the camphor. It's all this stuff that's working together, like has opened me up.
Mm-mm-mm. My God. And think about this. I didn't even want to do this tonight. I was like, fine.
You had to do that for me.
It's day 7. I said, "Ooh, it's day 7. Tomorrow's the last day," because I got in my space. I've been telling y'all for days. I would have been. I wanted, if it was something I wanted to do, I would have sat in my own space and just let the Father minister to me, and just absorb everything He was saying. But that is not the job. That's only part of the job. The Master went away. He went up into the mountains. He went off to be with His daddy, but then He had to come back and deliver what He was given. Now, the beauty, let me tell you how powerful His delivery is, because it's going to help some people too, because we've been talking about discipleship, and we really are going to have this discipleship course live. Listen, His delivery is so powerful because He understood His audiences. He understood that the multitude was not for Him to reveal all the secrets to. That's why it's multitude. Understand, my broadcasts are divided. My broadcasts are divided between the multitude and the sons. And only the sons are going to understand my language. Okay? The multitude ain't going to understand what I'm talking about unless they are called, unless they are part of that, those that have not come into the fold, but they are sons and didn't know they were sons. They're going to be the ones that are attracted to this language. They're going to be attracted to that, right? Huh. I don't want to even do it. But I know it's not the job not to speak, because we're speaking spirits, and because of what I'm called to do, I have to build. I have to establish foundation. I have to excavate. I have to disrupt. I have to do all of those things. And it cannot be done unless I speak. Cannot be done unless I move. So, therefore, I'm here. And even if it's for 3 people, if it's for 2 people, what I love about how the Father works is that I'm hearing the fruit of my labor come out of the mouths of the people. And that's what matters the most to me. Everything else is secondary to me. The stuff that's going to be added is secondary to me. That's the priority, is to hear the sound of the sun's frequency align with heaven to manifest the glory of Yah in every place they go in. Because they now know who they are. They know whose they are. And they know what their assignment and purpose is. Come on, talk back to me, Prophet.
And here in the fact that, oh my goodness, I'm dancing for real in the spirit.
Dancing for real, okay?
I mean, like, yeah, it's a holy dance. To think that it wasn't, because you mentioned something earlier, shortly after you started the broadcast, about how we look at, a lot of times what we go through as it's the enemy, but it's the elevation.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's an invitation to elevation is what it is.
It's an invitation to elevation. So you mean to tell me I got to go through this, and jump it? Yeah, you got to go through this. And the Father is secretive, it's not secretive as in like, I'm withholding all of this from you, but I want you to be curious enough to seek me out.
That's it. Because I'm going to tell you the end of the thing, and that's the beauty of him. He'll tell you the end from the beginning, but you don't understand the process. And you don't know how you're going to get there. And,
right.
And the joy of it is that when you get there, it's more than what you thought it was going to be. So all of that is working for us.
And so it goes back to right. And it goes back to something I was going to jump on earlier before I jumped in here with my little own 3-cent testimony, which is powerful if I got to say it myself, because I'm so messed up right now. These signs.
Yes.
What signs?
Come on.
What signs shall follow? What sign?
Come on.
What signs shall follow them that believe? So what's missing is the signs. Because ain't nobody following them.
Nobody's following the blueprint.
Nobody's following the blueprint. Nobody's following the blueprint.
These signs, these recognizable, distinguishable marks.
Yes.
Evidences.
Because if you got real signs, you'll have some real witnesses.
Come on.
Lord, I'm jumping.
Wait, not witnesses that you have coerced, not witnesses that you are in collusion with, in confusion with, because you have an organization or whatever it is, and y'all all deluded. Not that.
Not the religious Rico.
Not the religious Rico, please.
No. Please write the book. Please write the book.
It's going to happen.
Please write the book. So these signs, these identifiable traits, these identifiable marks, these brand, it's a certain brand.
It's a brand, sis.
It's a brand. The sons have been branded. The sons of Yah has been branded.
Come on.
You said something earlier about how you were set apart. Yet the Father told you that you were set apart. You were thinking different from a young age because you were marked.
I was marked.
Because he said the Father knows those that are his.
He does.
So these signs shall follow those, the ones that the Father knows that are his.
I felt like aren't these grown-up conversations, Father? What?
Facts.
What?
Truth.
Yeah. You're telling me this for? I'm only 12. I'm only 16. What's happening?
And see, here's the thing. Oh my, I don't even know if I can just explain it right. My mind is going a million.
Just start.
So
you'll
you were 12 and 16 in what years?
Oh Lord.
Okay, so you see where I'm going.
Yeah.
So, but you were
I was
matured.
I was born in 1969.
Okay, so you were matured spiritually beyond your natural years.
Yes.
So this is why at age 12 and at 16 you were matured in the natural,
Yes.
in the natural, as if someone that was maybe 40 years older.
That's true. But let me
You
tell you
know,
what a catalyst was. The catalyst was that at 5, I recognized Yah as my father. That
wow.
was my first invitation to relationship with him. And my first assignment was prayer for my family.
Wow.
I obeyed that assignment. I saw him as my father. I didn't have all of the ins and outs at 5 and 6 that I have now, but I took the assignment very seriously, and I knew it wholeheartedly was given to me from him. So people like to say that, because we were trained in church, constructs, we automatically say, oh, you were saved at 5. No, I was introduced at 5. I accepted him. I accepted the Father as my father at 5. I knew him as my father. Should I say that? I knew he was my father. But I yet went through a whole lot of stuff growing up because these malevolent entities were doing everything they could to keep me from stepping into my destined places because, they probably were like, that might be the one. I don't know. You remember their great-grandfather? I don't know. She might be the one. My cousins tell me I'm the one. My grandmother told me I'm the one. So
And it was like Jesus in the temple.
yeah.
He was this is where I'm getting to. So it was like he was well beyond his years, although his earthly age said thus and so, but spiritually he was well beyond his years. And so
Yeah.
spiritually you were well beyond your years, although you had to go through it naturally.
That's true.
In the earth.
Yeah, which is the
But,
same thing he went through. While people
correct.
trying to make him a deity and act like he wasn't going through nothing, he did.
He did. He suffered.
That was the purpose of him coming.
Absolutely.
Don't make him any less a God than it makes us.
Absolutely not.
Ye are gods, all of you.
Yes. So these signs shall follow the little gods, the ones that believe. So if there is no following, then I have to question the sign.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay, I'm off.
Ooh. And then we got to ask what we're following. We talked about it a little bit this week. We might have talked about it more than once. But I picked something up yesterday morning. I've been drinking this, I don't know what to call it. I'm always doing something that's related to health. And on the back of the package, it said, for best results, follow these instructions. For best results. In other words, if you want the results that this can provide for you, then you're going to need to follow the instructions in order to get those. If you don't follow those instructions, you won't be getting those results. So think about how the children of Israel are moving through this space called the wilderness. Moshe is assigned to bring deliverance to them. And there were many deliverers. So when I say Mashiach is not a term that is just related to Yeshua. Mashiach is a term that was identified even in the Old Testament. There were many deliverers. Okay, all of that. Many sons, many deliverers, many Mashiachs. Okay. But he just came to reset man. That was his gig. The ultimate sacrifice. I'm going to reset it all. So man can have an opportunity and get an advantage, gain an advantage over these entities and understand that, listen, I made y'all sons of God, just like they're sons of God. This is why they're feeling some kind of way, because even though they left their first estate, I've got replacements that operate from the earthly realm and come up to the seated realm and handle their business and assist me with the movement of the kingdom mandate, right? This is what he's trying to keep you from. These adversaries are trying to keep you from. That's what they're trying to keep you from. Go ahead, go back to your thing, because I'm gonna finish this.
No, I'm done. I'm totally done right now. I mean, this right here, when I tell you my mind is like on fire, my spirit is on fire in a good way. And this has reignited, this has rekindled
Glory.
some things in me that were like lying dormant.
Glory.
And has been for a long time, because I needed to get in the right atmosphere.
Yes.
In order to wake these things up in me.
Yes. And you know, this is where a lot of leaders miss opportunities, because right atmosphere don't mean your atmosphere is wrong or bad. It just means that the Father gave the code to somebody else.
He gave it to somebody else, and we have to be humble.
There are specialists in every field.
Every field. Your general MD don't have all the answers.
Why only in the church are upset with the doctors?
Right.
Right? Figuratively, you upset with the other doctors? Where they do that at? Only in the church. Only in religious.
Only in Ricos.
Only in Ricos does that happen. Because the kingdom understands. Listen.
The kingdom understands it.
I'm a specialist, just like the next specialist. And if you need something else, and I don't have the specialist, I don't have the specialty for that, listen, the Father's going to reveal to you what you need.
And see, the beauty in it is that, Lord help me. The beauty in it is that we have to realize and recognize that I respect you, I love you, I honor you, but I need to go further.
Yeah.
And I've come to the end of this learning curve here with you, and I need something else, and I can't get it here.
Right. So what do you do? Just hold me hostage under the guise of I'm your leader?
Right. I'm your leader, and you got me.
God's my leader, first of all. He's
our
leader.
Right. He's our leader. So I'm covered by him.
Yeah.
So you can no longer, it's almost like the Rico gang, right?
It is.
It's like the Rico gang. So in other words, you've indoctrinated me in the Rico gang, and I can't get out unless this, and thus happens to me. So no, I'm just going to break the code. I'm going to break the code of ethics or whatever we got in this Rico gang. And I need to save my own soul. I need to save me.
I'm about to be a whistleblower.
Listen, and so guess what? So because I love you, I young people say, I got to go. I got to go over here to this specialist, because there are different levels.
I need a second opinion.
Right.
Second opinion.
We go from glory to glory and faith to faith.
Listen, that was part of my conversation today. It really is. It's gonna come up.
Yeah, so it's like another level. So right now you've taken me as far as you can go. So now it's time for me to step off this, and I got to go higher. I got to ascend now.
And that doesn't mean that I have to break fellowship with you completely, but you have to understand when the ascension needs to happen. And I think for leaders in the religious industrial complex, I know kingdom leaders are not this, but leaders in the industrial complex have an issue with that. I've had times where I literally had to look a leader in the face and say, I don't want your people. There are other times that leaders just put their people on me. Like, you're the apostle, but I'm supposed to be the prophet, and I'm handling all the responsibilities of this ministry. This is weird. You know what I mean? So it's from one extreme to the other. Either it's my responsibility and you carry, the title, or you're feeling some kind of way because there are opportunities opening up for your people in another space. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with them using their gifts? What's wrong with them? I don't have any identification on how this is stupid to me.
Lord, you own it.
This is it's so stupid. What is wrong with prophets going into a place where they can prophesy under the supervision of an apostolic leader? That's a kingdom apostolic leader. What's wrong with that?
Because quite naturally, a general practitioner cannot properly nourish and speak into an authentic prophet's life.
Right.
They have to go somewhere where they can be cultivated.
Right.
And where they can be trained. And this is what we're seeing right now in the RICO organization.
Yeah. See, I done started something now.
Oh God, listen, let me back out of this right now. I'm on mute again.
RICO. I can't wait to tell my husband this. He's gonna cry. He's gonna scream. You hear me? He gonna be hollering. He gonna be like, "You a troublemaker, girl." Woo! That is funny stuff.
This is powerful, powerful. When I tell you that this is like a billboard word, this is a billboard message. This is like something that needs to be shared across multiple platforms. This is something that needs to be shared, quote, and I quote, on the quote, 7 mountains of influence. This is something that needs to be shared from the White House to the poorhouse. It's very rare that I come across a message or an environment where I'm just influenced by such revelation and insight that I know is pouring directly from the mouth of Yah, that's causing me to want to get up from here, literally, not literally, but literally want to get up from here and like, okay, I got to make some changes, and I got to make some changes like stat.
Yeah, immediately.
Immediate changes. And no, you're not. I'm taking the pen now. I'm going to author this thing from here on out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. Give me my pen back.
Yeah, give me my pen back because, yeah, you know, you've taken me as far as you can go. I appreciate it. We're not going to disconnect. Mm-hmm. But you've taken me as far as you can go, and then to invite others in that understands the language of sonship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very necessary right now, because if we're not, that is the highest office.
Yes.
Of mankind.
Yes.
Sonship. Our callings and our gifts those are just that. But the highest office is sonship.
Yes.
And it's something we got to make sure we got locked down.
Woo, I'm on fire over here. I'm going on mute.
We got to make sure we got it locked down. So that enigma is a distinguishing mark that requires deeper study and a cipher in order to decode. So, like I said, we understand the scripture to be, you know, it's encoded for sure. That's why people take things and just try to say stuff, but it's not that at all, because they're only dealing with the surface. It's not anything that they have studied and identified with the revelation of. They just say it because it's the doctrine of whatever denomination. It's the doctrine of whatever organization. It's the doctrine of the RICO, right? So Exodus 12:13. I'm just going to give you a couple verses about signs so you understand that a sign is at times for you to recognize, and other times you are the sign to be recognized. Exodus 12:13 says, "The blood shall be for a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt." This should give you clarity as well on what we were talking about earlier with cultures and manners and different traditions or whatever. There are things that the Father has already decided, and things that he speaks to us that are standard or things that we got to perform. Those are the things we got to perform. Those are the things that we have to do. This particular thing was assigned to them, assigned for them, not assigned to them, but assigned for them. And this sign for them was for them to be identified by the destroying angel, by the destroying one. This destructor was coming through to strike the land of Egypt. Now, if you are not in cooperation with whatever the instruction is for best results, follow these instructions. If you're not in cooperation with these instructions, then you are going to be subject to, you're going to be susceptible to the outcomes that everyone else is getting. Genesis 9:12. And Yah said, this is a sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you. You know, this is Noah, right? He said, I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Yah said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. To this very day, we see that bow in the cloud. Now, I don't know if you notice, but we don't see it as often. But sometimes when I see it, I see a double one. But I can promise you that the frequency of rainbows is not as high as it usually is. For me, that's an indication of something. Those are signs. For me, I'm paying attention to the detail of things like that. And when you're a son, you become sensitive to things like that. Like I usually see rainbows. I'm catching them all the time. And this season, I've seen some. For the most part, they've been double rainbows. Since I lived in Alabama, I see double rainbows. However, they are not as frequent in this season as they have been. Exodus 4:8, if they will not believe you, Yah said, or listen to the first sign, they may believe the latter sign. So understand, the reason I'm sharing that verse with you is because a lot of people don't understand that the Father doesn't just show a thing once. He is consistent. He shows it over and over again. If it's a conversation that you're hearing right now, he said some things to you over and over again, and then you hear somebody else say it. And if you're still not adhering to what he said, then you're going to have a problem, right? You're going to have a problem because he's saying, listen, I'm talking to you, but you're not responding. Exodus 8:23, thus I will put a division between my people and your people. Tomorrow, this sign shall happen. This is the conversation that is being had with Pharaoh, the great house, Pharaoh Ramesses. He said, listen, this is what the Father says. Now, at this point, there have been some things that have transpired, okay? This is like going into the fourth plague. Let me see. Yeah, the fourth plague. Let me see. Rise up. I'm going to verse 20. Rise up early in the morning, present yourself to Pharaoh as he goes out to the water, and say to him, thus says Yah, let my people go that they may serve me, or else I will not, or else if you will not let my people go, I will send swarms of flies on you and your servants and your people. And into the houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be filled with swarms of flies, and also the ground on which they stand. But on that day I will set apart the land of Goshen. This is when a thing was set apart. Now understand, before this prophet, they were experiencing those plagues. They experienced the gnats. They experienced the frogs. They experienced a bunch of stuff. But this is the one that brought the division between them and Egypt. This one right here. He said, thus I will put a division between my people and your people. Tomorrow, this sign shall happen. So in the moment that this thing happened with the flies, he's saying, listen, this is going to be the distinguishing marker that's going to tell you that there's a division, that y'all not equal, y'all not on the same level. I've chosen them. Okay? It says, and Yah did so. There came a great swarms of flies into the houses of Pharaoh and into his servants' houses throughout all the land of Egypt, or Mitzrayim. The land was ruined by the swarms of flies. Then Pharaoh Ramesses called Moshe and Aaron and said, go sacrifice to your God within the land. See, he's still trying to control the thing. You got to understand, there's an authority, there's a God over that land that is pulling the strings through power to keep a people in this oppressive space, to keep a people. See, there's a difference between oppression and possession. This, for me, I'm just thinking about this just now. For me, this is an example of the adversaries oppressing a people. This is an example of oppression. You know, an example of possession would be the man in the Gadarenes or the boy who was throwing himself in the fire and the water. That's possession. Anywhere where legions are, anywhere where something is taking charge of a thing, which we talked about yesterday. The women that funded the ministry of the Mashiach, the first one was Mary Magdalene, out of whom went 7 demons. Right? Yeah. Come on, prophet. No, before you say something, I'm going to use this one because this is a big one right now. Deuteronomy 13, 1 and 2. If a prophet or a dreamer of dreams arises among you and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder that he tells you comes to pass, and if he says, let us go after other gods which you have not known, and let us serve them, then guess what? You are not to fear that prophet. He said, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. For Yah, your God, is testing you to know whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. So there will be people that come in your space, as a test of your loyalty to the Father. That means you have to have an intimate relationship with him in order to identify the fraudulency that's coming out of the mouth of a prophet. And most people don't have that. They don't have that. They're being misled. Constantly being misled. I've heard such ridiculousness in the last, it's been ridiculous. But here recently, I heard one of the most ridiculous situations. It was just, I said it on my other broadcast. This is not even just false prophet, this dumb prophet. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is dumb if you believe that this is prophetic and not pathetic. I've seen stuff like that where it's like, what? What are we doing exactly? But I have to remember, can't get in my feelings. You know why? Because the Bible says that he will give people, he'll give them what they desire. So if you need a word so bad, you want miracles so bad, signs and wonders so bad, that you're going to be desensitized to the fraudulence of darkness, I'll give it to you. Have at it. I shared it with you the other day about Ahab. He got 400 prophets. And Jehoshaphat said, listen, is there a prophet of Yah that can speak on his behalf? He said, yeah, Micaiah, but I don't like that guy. That dude he's the worst. I hate him. He don't ever prophesy nothing good to me. Prophecy is turned into something that make people feel good, instead of a word of Yah to bring correction or direction. Prophet, you could say something.
I don't have anything to say. But no. Oh my God. Why can't we just have this like the state of the church address? Like,
that's what I do. I think I've been doing at least once over the last couple of years.
State of the church. This fits right into that category.
I think I've been doing a prophetic announcement is what I've been doing. So a state of the church address.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
I'll take that, prophet.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you ready. Like someone told me the other day, you ready. You really ready. But here's the thing. Prophets is the fruit. Matthew talks about wolves in sheep clothing. You know, they come,
yes,
you know, and inwardly they're like ravenous wolves.
Yes.
And what I see now, more so than ever, you know, of course, the Bible tells us that we should know them by their fruit. Fruit talks, talking fruit. But the prophets of old, people were literally afraid of them. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it's so much common carnalness and casualty.
Just casualness.
And people don't take them serious.
Mm-mm.
Don't take them serious. They, you know, because the number one is it's a job description. Oh, I'm a prophet. I'm this. Not gone through anything or anything like that. And it's running rampant. It's like, yes, I know what the Bible says that in the last days that he was going to pour out his spirit upon all flesh.
Yes.
But now when we're talking, Correct. So now it's like a profit, profit.
Yes.
It's all about the profits, what benefits them. It's not because if there was like a reverential fear that was resting upon like Micaiah,
Mm.
he don't tell me anything good. No, we don't even need to talk to him. We don't even discuss anything with him.
I hate that guy.
I hate him with a
I
passion.
hate him. I hate him. Yeah.
Where are the Micaiahs these days?
Yeah. Oh, we exist. And
Right.
people want to say that they hate us, but they're not going to fool with us.
They're not going to fool with us. So my thing is, you know, people say, will the real prophets arise? My thing is, will the real Micaiahs arise?
Come on now. Yeah. Where's Micaiah?
Where's Micaiah?
Mm-hmm.
That's another book. Where's Micaiah?
Mm-hmm.
Because Micaiah is hearing.
They're too busy trying to elude the fallout that comes from being Micaiah.
Exactly. And too busy trying to make sure that they keep the likes, the shares, their crowd, and all this other stuff going. Micaiahs are basic. The Micaiahs are tapped into the frequency.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Woo.
They're tapped into the Enigma, for real.
Yeah, and slap up in the Enigma for real.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got the Cipher too.
I don't know how much more of this I can take.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm gonna even finish all of this tonight. I have a problem. That be my greatest problem because I want to give all of it. I want to give it all so badly because I see the urgency. It's been an urgency for me, you know, but I see the urgency, the necessity for the sons to rise. I see the necessity of the sons to get in their proper position. And so many are going to miss this. And when they miss this move, it's not coming back around.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Because usually when you miss a move, it takes about a decade to get back.
Yes.
We don't have that kind of time where it's gonna. We just don't have it. I don't see it. I don't see it happening.
It's not gonna happen.
No, because these are the final. These are the final hours of something. When I say final hours,
literally,
I'm talking about like final hours. This is a countdown. What side are you on? Okay, you got so much time. Go ahead, make your decision because this is a final countdown right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you who's a sheep and who's a goat. I'm gonna tell you who's wheat and who's tare.
Who's the tare?
I'm gonna tell you who's holy and who's not.
Come on.
This is where we are. It's not gonna be a comeback from this. Except for the people that are coming in because the sons are in their lighthouse position and drawing them in. But people that have been exposed to the Bible, people that have been exposed to Yah, like I was at 5, no matter what age you were exposed, if you've been exposed for longer than 10, 20 years, you have not taken advantage of that exposure to take the relationship further, you've been trying to get the milk without the covenant. That's like being engaged to somebody for 20 years. You have no intention.
Stringing me along.
You have no intention. You just stringing, you think you stringing Yah along. He like, okay, no problem. That's what we doing? All right, I stamped that. I approve. That's what he did with Pharaoh. Pharaoh kept going back and forth. No, I'm not gonna let him go. Okay, yeah, okay. Tell God to loosen up. I'm gonna let him go. Okay, y'all go into the wilderness, just y'all, just the men. That ain't what we said, bruh. You ain't hearing me. Here come the next play. Okay. I made a mistake. Father ain't playing that. When Pharaoh got to one point, the father said, okay, I'm gonna harden his heart. He ain't coming back from this. And you got to understand, this is exactly where we are. He said, let the righteous be righteous still, and let the wicked be wicked still. And people think that these terminologies are some kind of religious concept. No, wicked means separated from him. You're twisted. You got this thing twisted. You're not walking a straight path. You're twisted. That's wicked. You know, wicker chair, how the wood is twisted to make the shape that it's in. Twisted. So signs are for actionable measures to be taken. Many are frustrated about the world scene and what's on the stage, whether in their personal worldview or the systems of the worldview. However, sons understand these things must be. They are the signs that the end is near. So I want to share just a couple of numbers that came. This was the second thing that the Father gave me before this whole series of Enigma happened. First word was sign, and secondarily were these numbers. The number 11, y'all can write it down. The number 12, the number 22, the number 33, the number 67, and the number 83. These are the numbers that he began to reveal to me.
Could you repeat those, Apostle?
Yes, 11, 12, 22, 33, 67, and 83. So I'm going to briefly go over those numbers, and then I'm going to turn that loose. I'm going to start with 67, because 67 is Subek Zion. And if y'all remember 7 was the last eon, or the last age that we were in, the 70s. Right now we're in, as far as the prophetic calendar, Hebrew calendar, we're in 80s, right? Now, here's the thing. I've been telling people for some time now, I believe we're 1,000 years off of the time, or the number that the religious complex has been given. And 67 is the year I believe we're in. Not 5785, but 6785. And so 67 is understanding that protects and divides. Now, I'm gonna go to 57. 57 had something to do with sight. Hold on, I'm gonna go to 57 real quick, because I want you to see the difference. And the reason why this is clarifying things for me is because 5785 describes the last season, not this season. Okay? Say something, Prophet, while I pull it up.
I don't want to miss nothing.
You're not gonna miss anything.
Oh,
Just
no.
say something. Just say something while I pull it up.
Mean, good, my Lord, today. I need this clarification on this number system, because I've been seeing a lot of numbers here lately. 11, 67, the number 9, and so forth and so on. So I just know that this is divine. Woo, this is divine. This is all Yah.
It is.
This is all Yah.
He loves us so much. He really,
yes, he does.
He loves us. He loves us a whole bunch.
Yes.
Okay, so 57. Let me go to 57. Let me see, 50 and 7. That's 5 and 7. Let me find what I'm looking for here. That's not what I want. Here we go. Let me see if this is what I'm looking for. I think it is. Okay. That ain't what I'm looking for either. Okay. I'm going to find it. Here, let me do this way. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Give me 1 second, y'all. Y'all still there? You see folks in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm pulling it together, y'all. I want to show you the difference. I want to show you the difference between these numbers. All right, let's see here. There it is. Okay. Okay, so if you remember, Zion was sight. 7 is sight. Okay? 7. Zion was about sight. And we were in that age, or in that time, in the 70s, when we were in the 70s, before we crossed over to the 80s, in that decade, I should say. Okay? Zion had to do with sight. Zion. 50 is noon. Okay? And noon is this continuation of sight, things emerging from hiddenness. Noon is also the seed. That's where I'm after. The seed. Okay? So the seed of sight, the seed of life emerging, or this perpetuation of purpose, you have that part, but then you also have Zayin, which is a sword or a weapon, meaning a cutting or a defending, a separating or a nourishing. So when you look at this, the combined symbolism of it was, for me, life preserved and advanced through divine separation or discernment. To me, that was the last decade. That was the last 10. Oh, sorry, the last eon, because the last age, because that was, you started 70. Yeah, that was the last decade. Right. I'm saying the right thing. It's that 57 to me suggested spiritual survival or growth through the cutting process. It doesn't mean that we're not being cut now, because we're constantly being cut, because we have to ascend. So we're being cut from one level going to the next. That's one thing. We're constantly purifying ourselves. Something is constantly being cut because the covenant exists, right? But it suggested spiritual survival or the growth through the cutting process, where the seed had to be divided or pruned to release something. You understand what I'm saying? About it from a prophetic place, it would be the hidden seed is emerging as a purified life. And the sons have emerged as in a state of purity. They've gone through all that they've gone through in the last decade. And now that which was hidden is now being seen as a harvest, right? The voices were hidden. Some of the voices were not as out in the front, if that makes sense. They weren't as recognized. And I won't say they weren't recognized, but they were trying to be, sis opened up with not being boxed. They were trying to be put in a box. They were trying to be controlled. They were trying to be tempered, if that makes sense. People were trying to temper it, trying to, strap it down. Okay? So that's how I see that. But 67 is a completely different thing. 57 was the time of our consecration. And in that 57, we were going to endure testing and still emerged crowned, if that makes sense. So the seed preserved through the sword became the crown. Does that make sense, Prophet?
Yes.
Okay. So being separated and crowned was 57. It was a life through consecration, a seed preserved through divine discipline. That was 57. That's not the same as 67. 67 is understanding that both protects and divides. Zayin is still the sword, but Samek deals with understanding, which deals with revelation, which deals with enigma. Sons that are seeking and searching. Receiving the codes and the keys to open up things. That's where we are. That's where we are. Yeah. So 11 is divine movement to bring order. You have to understand that 11 also is a number that is generally related to chaos, but that's the prophetic motif of 11 is the fact that divine movement is bringing divine order. So 12 we know is a governmental number. That means Yah is establishing his house or his government. These are the numbers that I saw before he began to talk to me about the Enigma. 22 is covering of divine speech, total expression. The Father covering the house, covering the sound, covering the frequency. He is the cover of all that, the cover of the frequency. He's the thing that's on top of all of that. Number 33 is authority that uplifts. It's a revelation and maturity. We know that the master ended his ministry at 33. Right? That's the ascension, the authority that uplifts. It's a maturity of revelation of who he is. I gave you 67. 83 is speech that moves. It's unripe but prophetic potential. So it's uploads that the Father has given us, new speech, new dynamics. And I promise you, he's always giving me words. He just gave Sis Rico for the religious industrial complex operations. Right? It's constant speech that's moving. It's unripe in the sense that it's foundationally, it's given to us as a seed, so you know more is going to come out of that. It's ripe with prophetic potential, though. Okay? So there's a difference between identification and realization as it pertains to relationship with the Father. So we've been given the advantage of the Father's loving instructions written in us. And this is only as a result of the acceptance of the finished work of Yeshua. Everybody that is in this age has access to gaining the loving instructions to be written on the table of their heart. Once you cross that threshold, the law is written in you, and this is why you're not able to continue in sin. Oh my God, I'm not trying to go this way. The reason why people are struggling with sin is because they have not yet had the law of Yah written in them. They're still trying to figure it out for themselves. They're still trying to have an idea about what they should do. They haven't completely surrendered in the relationship intimately for the exchange to happen. Conception, birthing, continued relationship in an intimate way. Continually multiplying and producing. So this is why people are prone to sin. You don't have to keep getting baptized. Quote, you don't have to keep, what's the word they say? Rededicating. You need to have the law written. And once the law is written, you're going to adhere, because you cannot not adhere with the law written. And if you do so, getting back to that is impossible. Somebody said, how you say that? Having seen the goodness of Yah to return again, after seeing his goodness, that means something's been revealed to you. You've seen the goodness. Okay? And you walked away. If he didn't restore those that were in his counsel, what do you think? Because men are going to judge angels. So that wouldn't be fair, would it? Prophet?
I plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth.
Listen, it's just I can't say anything right now because I'm in sponge mode right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my eyes are opening. It's like the scales are falling off my eyes. It's like this like I'm being opened up.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I just, yeah, it's, yeah.
There's so many people take these moments for granted.
How?
Well,
Why?
it would be
This is
it's
this
made
is
common.
life
It's made
altering.
common. It's common to some people because it just feels good in a moment or it sounds good in a moment. It's all about the ground that the seed is being sown in at the end of the day. You know? And that ground is something that has to be prepared by men. It's not prepared by the Father, it's prepared by men. And in the fact that it's prepared by men, because the Father is constantly sending what is necessary to prepare the ground, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So there's a response that's necessary upon every sign or activation that if men receive it, then the ground is softened. The ground is prepared. The ground is nourished. It has all of the nutrients that's necessary for harvesting or, building out what should be a harvest, if that makes sense.
Ultimate sense.
Yeah. So we don't have to search for this advantage. We don't have to search for it. We don't have to search for it because the Bible declares that the word is nigh us, even in our mouth. But that word that was in the mouth, the word that's declared that's in your mouth, is a result of the word of faith, which is preached to you. And if you're not in the space where you're receiving the word of faith, not faith in things, not faith for things, but faith in Yah and the faith of Yah, that when he says a thing, he knows it is, right? So if you're not in that place, it's because you haven't received the word that unlocked that level in you. If you're in the search of that, then the word says, if you seek, you'll find. If you knock, the door will be open, right? If you ask, it'll be given. But part of the problem is that people are not asking, they're not seeking, neither are they knocking. So it is within. Therefore, this is the contact point that Holy Spirit speaks to man. Via this contact point, via this contact point is where he speaks to me. But furthermore, this is the same access point or contact point that malevolent forces seek to compromise in order to gain access to the vessel for the purpose of contamination of the image and likeness via change of spiritual and physical DNA for the ultimate end of the making the structure condemnable. So sustaining sonship dimensions is a skill. And skill is defined as the ability to do something well. And it's usually gained through training and practice. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. I told you we was going to get to the skill thing. This can refer to a person's expertise or proficiency in a task or trade or exchange. Skill speaks to general aptitude for achieving results with good execution. And it's often divided into soft and hard skills. That means human versus technical. Okay? So an example of that is hard skills are related to your teachability and the technical or the technique, which are also able to be measured and identified as far as what your level of competency is in those areas, right? Soft skills are related to how you're moving as far as your relation to people, how you're delivering the competencies, right? So components of skill are knowledge, the information or the understanding that's needed to execute. Practice, which is repetition, yielding experience that leads to proficiency. Aptitude, which is a natural talent or gift or ability to learn. And then execution, competency and effective performance of tasks. And you say, now, what does this have to do with spiritual things? Everything. Because the sonship dimension is a skill. So Hebrews chapter 5 says, for everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness. For he is a babe, but strong meat belongeth to them that are full age, even those who by reason of use, reason of skill, reason of use, have their senses exercised. They're using their skill where they've been trained. They're exercised to discern both good and evil. So when the Father says, be holy because I am holy, you're not saying, well, Ain't nobody perfect, because you understand that perfection is maturity. And if maturity, then therefore set apart. Doesn't mean you won't miss things, but you're not willfully sinning either. You have your senses trained. And I know many of you have never heard of sonship spoken in this way before. And then for those who have heard this, then this is a general urgent reminder, because the masses' identity on sonship is just from the perspective of the gift dimension. John 3:16, for Yah so loved the world that he gave. Okay, a gift, right. While it is a gift, it must still be received. Okay, and when it is received, it must still be cultivated. Okay, it is the gift of Yah, not of us, lest we should boast, right? He said, listen, I've spoken and you have not heard me, though. I sent my prophets early, but you ultimately killed the ones I sent. That's even if you're killing the influence. You're not hearing. You're not echoing or reproducing based on the seed or the word that was given. But the Father said, with loving kindness, I draw you. So here's an example. You don't have to miss this. You can understand and come into this draw with the loving kindness that he's drawing. He's always going to use things to draw us. It's going to be his loving kindness. So I used this example earlier of a man pursuing a woman to make her his wife. But even though he pursues her, she must give the final word. If you look at Rebecca, when that exchange was happening, they asked Rebecca, before she was put on her horse and her caravan was taken back to where Yitzchak was, Isaac was, they asked her, are you going to go with this dude or not? That was the ultimate. So, listen, the only woman who didn't have a choice was the woman who was an example of how Abba designed a man and a woman after his likeness, or after the likeness of Elohim. And in this shows how we're dynamically connected, right? That's the only time that a woman didn't have a choice, was the woman that the Father created from the rib or the chromosome, because there's XY. That what's missing in the woman is the other part of the stick. Rib, not as in rib that's in your body, but chromosome. Their original authority as sons of Yah was, in this chromosome and in their companionship, right? That's the only time that a woman didn't have a choice. Rebecca was asked, do you want to go back? You want to go back with him? She said yes. So the covenantal instructions to be fruitful and multiply, have dominion, all of that stuff was in play there, right? But tonight, the Father's using the vehicle of a serving son. In addition, we know he has many prophetic vehicles to deliver his sound. His word is seed to us, and we've gone over this before. His word is the sign. His word is him putting his sovereign signature on a message he desires that we acknowledge and adhere to. Therefore, he puts us in the environments where we can either see a prophetic implication or hear the echo of his voice related to specifics of our lives, where he is revealing himself to bring order or alignment. Here are some of the other identifications of the vehicles, the prophetic vehicles that the Father uses to give us his word, to plant this seed, right? We know sons, that's the prophets, or any prophetic gift, not just a prophetic office, but prophetic nature. Dreams, he said in Job, I speak in a dream once and even twice, and men don't understand. But what is the problem here? We're not applying ourselves to the understanding. We're not seeking the understanding of the dream. We think it's just a thing. No, it's the Father speaking. He's using all of these vehicles to get to us, to say something to us, but we assume or we don't care. Visions, Jacob's ladder, we talked about that earlier. Nature, Elijah on the edge of the cave. What happened with Elijah when he was in the cave? The wind, he said, it's not in the wind, it's not in the fire, it's not in the earthquake, right? Okay, but he uses all of these things to express something to us. And if we talk about numbers, we shared numbers already, but think about Gideon and the 300. The Father's really interested in numbers. All these things matter to him. So before I share this prophetic word that the Father gave me for the people, do you have anything that's ruminating with you right now, Prophet?
Oh God, no. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yes, I'm eating right now.
Okay, you eating? Okay. No burping on the line, and make sure you have your napkin.
Absolutely got it.
Okay. This is what the Father gave me to give to the people of Yah, the sons of Yah, for this season. He said, I declare this night that I'm taking every one of my sons to the next dimensions of faith and glory. Think it not strange when I require of you things that you don't yet have understanding. Blessed are those who obey without having the coordinates. Blessed are you, for you will see my hand and my heart. It is not in your knowledge of it before you move, but your knowledge but your knowledge and trust in me. Your refusal to learn, I'm going to read this again because I don't want to mess up his words. And I enlarged this, but it's getting late. So let me take my time. All right. Yah declares this night, I'm taking every one of my sons to the next dimensions of faith. Think it not strange when I require of you things that you don't yet have understanding. Blessed are those who obey without having the coordinates. Blessed are you, for you will see my hand and my heart. It is not in your knowledge of it before you move, but your knowledge and trust in me. Your refusal to lean to your natural mechanisms, the common things. What I am trading in you, what I am trading in you goes beyond human intellect and ability. You will be the generation that not only says a thing, but sees a thing. And yet, while you are speaking or releasing the seed of my word, the harvest will begin to appear. The reapers will be needed in this season, as you will see the word I've been following after to perform. Behold, sons, I give you discerning eyes and feet that can man any terrain. Be not as the heathen who are searching for the exaggerated performances and outward displays of lying signs and wonders. What I am performing is mighty and it is strong, yes. However, it doesn't require man-made crescendo. I prepared you for this moment of manifestation, and even though you don't have the fullness in mind of all that I am revealing to you, it was already given to you to know. As you seek me, inquiring of me, you will see, and all, not as a result of shock, because I gave it to you from the beginning of covenant exchange. Does not a wife have expectation of a husband, and a husband a wife? Have not children an expectation of parents, and parents after instruction, expectation of their children? So your great expectation of me will be fulfilled, and my expectation of the glory, my doings I put in you, shall be revealed. So your great expectation of me will be filled, and my expectation of the glory, my doings I put in you, shall be revealed. Prophet?
Confirmation.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Confirmation.
Yes, ma'am. What did you hear that sealed that for you?
The revealing.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I hope you didn't mind. I recorded that prophetic word
Oh
because I
no,
needed to
please.
go
And
back.
it's on YouTube. So no, you're good.
Okay, I needed to go back. I needed to as soon as we hang up, I'm going somewhere.
You need me to send it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
If you can send that to me.
Still with us in the room. That's what I'd like to know.
I don't know.
Okay, I see somebody on. You know, the saints of this age, they ready to go to bed. They be like, she did that too late. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, to each his own.
To each his own. But listen, if you're hungry, you are hungry.
To each his own. That's
Yeah.
that common thing.
Listen.
That common thing.
Mm-mm.
We busy doing everything.
Everything.
Everything
Literally everything.
that don't pertain to life and godliness.
Facts.
I'm gonna put it in our chat, and you can copy it from there. Does that work? You know what? Can you find the? Okay, there we go. There we go. Yeah, you can get that from there. Okay, just copy it.
Okay. Let me put my glasses on. Hold on.
Yeah, copy it and paste it from there.
Okay. Let me see.
All right. All right. So, thus we had the discussions about the Enigma. We started with the birthing realm. We continue with the sword of Enigma. And now, tonight, we were dealing with the gods of Enigma, which for me equals a conversation about jurisdictions and gods over jurisdictions, okay? Because the earth systems are being governed by the gods. You know, every region nation, and system of the earth functions under spiritual governance, whether it's divine or fallen. And it's revealing that what man calls history, culture, or politics are actually manifestations of spiritual jurisdictions. So if you look at it from that perspective, you'll know what you're looking at in this season. So here's the spiritual infrastructure of Earth systems. We started with the council, right? Council model of divine governance. This is before the rebellion. Yah established the divine council of Elohim. These are heavenly beings who administered nations under his authority. And I gave you the scripture, Psalm 82. Yah stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods. Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, he set the bounds of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God. Okay? These sons of God were originally stewards of creation's algorithmic order. They were regional governors that were ensuring every domain functioned according to divine frequency. This is how it was supposed to be. Let me clarify. This was the original idea, if that makes sense. When we look in Genesis and we see these things kind of crumbling in, like Genesis 11, where, you got this building of cities and this building of a tower, because those that have been instructed to spread out have decided we're not going to spread out. We're going to stay right here and we're going to make a name for ourselves. When you understand the enigma of that conversation, that's a whole situation, right? It's a whole situation about spiritual hierarchy and the desire to take over the authority of the sovereign one, to take the seat of the sovereign one. That tower was not about a building, it was about a portal. What they were attempting to do was to ascend into the realm of Yah and take over his seat. It wasn't about a building. This is why the Father said, listen, he stood up. He said, let's see what they do. Oh no, we got to go down there and confound these languages. He said, because here's the reality. Because of the unity. Now I want you to hear this prophetically, because it's two sides to every coin. So if you think about unity on a diabolic level, think about it on a divine level. He said, because of their unity, nothing that they imagine will be impossible for them. Can you imagine that on a divine level when the sons are operating together? So the earth's regions were under spiritual governance. We see that in Genesis 11. And after the flood, mankind unified in rebellion. We talked about the tower, this centralization through the tower. And after the flood, the counterfeit portal, that's what it was, the systemic interface to reach the heavens. And Yah confounded the languages and dispersed them into 70 regions, each now overseen by divine beings, the council, many of whom later fell into corruption. I don't believe that there were just one fall. I believe that there were, different falls because there were different rebellions. So, but Job being the oldest book, or Yah being the oldest book, we can see patterns even there. And I don't know about anybody else, but I've looked at the patterns of, and you may hear these verses again, but I'm going to say it now. This one stood before Yah, and Satan came also. I'm going to try to do my best to get to the names of the Satan, some of them, because some of them reflect the gods or the Elohim that wound up on Mount Hermon making imprecation or this covenant to sleep with the women and create their own seed, which we saw was a prophetic pronouncement or prophetic idea that the Shining One, or the Nakash, had in the garden when he was trying to garner the allegiance of Adam and Eve, which is how probably Cain, the likeliness of Cain coming out of her was a result of her allegiance or her agreement with this darkness. So she began to produce out of that. I believe Cain and Abel were twins, but this was the duality, that because of her connection and her covenant with the darkness, she had a duality that came out of her, which we also saw in Jacob and Esau. but that's just a result of being in the world or under the first Adam's governance, right? So that thing kind of existed. The master came in and reset all of that. So now we can step into that dimension and behold without the mixture. We know that the Father confounded their languages and dispersed them into 70 regions. And so each of those regions would then be overseen by divine beings, the Elohim, many of whom later fell into corruption. And Genesis 11, 1 through 9 discusses the confusion of tongues and the division of nations. And Acts chapter 17, verses 26 through 27 says, he hath determined the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek Yah. He determined the bounds of their habitation. This is dealing with that boundary that was set and giving the Elohim or the gods the territory, right? So then you got those that were in prison, the watchers that were in prison, watchers. So you got a lot of terminology that is speaking of the same entities. And I believe that those differences in conversation are just given the facets of who they are. Like when you say watchers, were not the Elohim or the gods watchers, and this is why they were given authority over the nations, right? Divine beings, sons of God, all the same situation, but they're given different facets. This is giving you the different dimensions of who they are, right? And so we got to follow that pattern in order to identify what's going on. In Genesis chapter 6, this is where we see the imprisonment of the watchers or the divine council beings that fail. And then the birth of corrupted systems again, the transgression of the watchers. Certain heavenly beings abandon the original estate. We've heard that, entering the human dimensions unlawfully to produce hybrid progeny, disrupting creation's genetic and spiritual algorithm. This is the same thing that's happening right now today. Genesis 6, 1 through 4, the sons of Yah saw the daughters of men, you know the story, that they were fair, and they chose them to sleep with them to create a seed. And that's what the adversary has always been about, the seed. He wants a seed of his own to contend with the seed of Yah. Prophets, say something. I need some water.
Ain't got nothing to say. You go right ahead and drink your water.
you got to say something. It can't be a blank line.
Can not say anything right now. Yeah, I can't. And it's not because I don't have anything to say, because I could say a lot, but I need to absorb
I
this
understand.
moment. I need to absorb this oil, this fresh water, this fresh rain, this time of refresh. I need to absorb this right now.
Okay. I hear you.
Woo.
Now I understand when the woman left the well and she absorbed, she had to go into the city and talk about it.
She had. So guess what? After this, I'm already texting folks while we on this live. Like, yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna send you a copy of this live. Yeah.
Okay. I'm about to send you something.
Yeah, I'm about to send you something. You need to tap into this next time she go live.
There you go.
Yes.
So that hybrid progeny was a glitch. It's a disruptor in creation's genetic and spiritual algorithms. And this is the thing that we are being called to protect ourselves from. And when I say protect ourselves, that this deals with how we locate ourselves, what we're giving our loyalty to. All these things are how we position ourselves. Because the Father does the rest, He has his part, we have our part. But for some reason in RICO, or in the Religious Industrial Complex Organization, there's this idea that the Father's supposed to do everything and we're supposed to just chill. We're missing, the thing that's missing in the covenantal identity or the covenantal paradigm is the fact that you have a responsibility as well. And when you do your part of that, when you accept and acknowledge, right, and then you follow the instructions, That's your part. When you think on these things, right? When you're following the blueprint that's been given, can you imagine what it would have been, the situation that would have occurred for Noah to change any of the dimensions of that ark? Can you imagine? That would have been lights out for everybody. You can't change the dimensions of what the Father's building in you. You got to allow it to be built. You have to allow it to be built. Jude 1:6, the angels who kept not their first estate, he has reserved in everlasting chains under the darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Now that would be the ones that were the 200 that were on Mount Hermon. That would be them that made this covenant to do the dastardly deed of sleeping with the women. That wasn't what they were supposed to be doing. They were above that. It doesn't mean that they could not, which speaks to, the free will, and which speaks to the reality of us being able to walk out things and not give in to things. But it also speaks to the intimacy of the relationship. See, once they abandoned their intimacy with him and it turned in on them, ooh, that's kind of like, ooh, yeah, I'm not going there tonight. That's kind of like how people, instead of it being an outward intimacy correctly done, it turns inward, and then they start servicing themselves. That's what that's putting me in the mind of. I hope y'all caught that. Did you catch that, Prophet, or did it go over your head?
No, I got it.
Okay. I hope y'all caught it. Yeah. Because once you start servicing yourself, now you change the whole dynamic and the purpose of what the service was meant for, which is going to cause a whole bunch of issues, which is what it does in the natural and in the spiritual, right? In natural realms and in spiritual realms. I pulled something up I meant to look at. Hebrews chapter 6, verses 4 through 6. This is that verse I want to leave with you guys about the restoration, the impossibility of restoration for those who have experienced Yah's goodness and then fallen away. Right? David said it like this: I would have fainted or I would have lost heart unless I believed that I would see the goodness of Yah in the land of the living. But once you identify that goodness, you can't go back. David made some errors along the way, but he was a man after Yah's own heart. He sought the heart of Yah. That's not the same as what Ahab did. You understand what I'm saying? He married into darkness. He drew himself away. Okay? And went deeper and deeper into that darkness until whatever was supposed to be spiritually visible in Israel was no longer spiritually visible, to the point that Jezebel now was castrating the prophets and making them sit at her table. And that's how you wind up with 400 prophets telling this lie about go up and fight at Ramoth Gilead. Yeah. The imprecation. That's what the Bible talks about in King James. I love that word, the imprecation. It's a self-curse. This is when those divine council members who had fallen swore an oath, an imprecation upon Mount Hermon, and this is where they sealed their rebellion. This is the act that corrupted their own spiritual DNA and turned their divine technology of light into a diabolic algorithm of chaos. These are the ones that were chained in Tartarus. Yet their knowledge, their offspring, and their influence seeded systems that continue throughout, even after the flood, through post-flood civilizations. Y'all got that? So then we get to the table of nations, which we talked about lightly. 70 nations, 70 Elohim, right? I asked the question yesterday, I believe it was. The Father only asked for 73 days out of 365 days a year. that he has appointed to meet his sons. That doesn't mean that you don't have a relationship with him beyond that. But these are appointments. So like you make a doctor's appointment, you would make a specialist appointment, and you show up at the specialist. Why? Because you want to get the answers that you need to identify, whatever is going on and what needs to go on, right? And they have the answers. So 73 days out of 365 days is wild. That is 56 Sabbaths, which do not fall every week on the same day. I love how he encoded the Sabbaths, because the only way you're going to get to identifying, and it doesn't mean that he won't, I can't state that he will have a problem with people that call the Sabbath every Saturday. I ain't none of my call. But what I do know is that he encoded the Sabbaths. That's what I know. The new moon, the lunar cycle is how you identify Sabbaths, because the new moon is the first day of the month. You count from the first day of the month to the seventh day, and you'll know when the Sabbath is, where it is. Okay? And you can look up lunar cycles online, and you can watch the moon cycles yourself to make sure and verify. The only time of year that it is a timing, you got to watch the timing of it, is during this season and in Passover. Okay? But the Father gave me a word. He said, we were talking about something, and he said, let me see, where did I put it? I think I put it here. He said that oh no, it's in my phone. Hold on. He said that the sun is the clock and the moon is the calendar. Yeah, we'll go through that. We'll go through that another time. I just wanted to tell you that. We'll unpack it later. The sun is the clock. They made a sundial to help you tell the time of day. But the lunar cycle is actually the calendar. That's what's connected to the calendar. That tells us seasons and, all of that. Okay. Genesis 10 outlines the 70 nations that were arising from Noah's sons, and each of those were corresponding to a divine being that was appointed. You see that in Deuteronomy 32:8. Over time, many of these regional governors became false deities, false gods. And the reason why they are false is not that they are not real, but they are not operating authentically and divinely anymore. Okay? You'll hear me repeat that again, because a lot of people think that the term false gods means that they don't exist. This is why you have religious people run around talking about there's only one God. No matter what religion they're coming from, there's only one God. Everybody wants to say that there are many gods. Okay? So over time, these regional governors started receiving worship and establishing counterfeit thrones. Okay? Counterfeit, that meaning not real, but it's not the original or the authentic purpose of their throne. Genesis 10, these are the families of the sons of Noah. By these were the nations divided. Go and read Genesis 10. We've already read Psalm 82. Daniel 10:13, and then verse 20. The prince of Persia is an example, and the prince of Greece are examples of spiritual powers over nations. Okay? Here's another thing. I talked about the 73 days, the Moedim. These are divine appointments. There are 70 nations, but 73 days of sacred convocations, or moeds, in the Hebrew calendar. I believe that the extra 3 represent divine override. Yah's appointments transcending the nation's corrupt cycles. This contrast symbolizes that divine order remains supreme above all earthly or celestial governance. Leviticus 23 talks about the appointed feast of Yah. Isaiah 66:23, from one new moon to another, all flesh shall come to worship before me. One new moon to another, that determines the months. I'm just giving you clarity here. So I want to talk about this darkness, and then I think I'm about to let y'all go shortly. Prophet, are you with me still?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. We are in this age of gross darkness. We know that this conversation was already had in Isaiah chapter 60, where it said, for behold, darkness shall cover the earth and gross darkness the people. right? But then you have this identity on these manifesting ones that are supposed to be arising and shining because they've been revealed. Not only have they been revealed, but before they were revealed, they got a revelation of who they were. Your light has come. Doesn't just mean that I'm going to show you that the spotlight is on you, but it means that revelation has come to you. You've been illuminated. And the glory of Yah, the doings of Yah, have risen upon you. What does that mean? It's time. It's reached a full place. It's risen upon you. When I think about the rising, I think about this, the thermometer, how the temperature is going up and it reaches its capacity. Yeah. So when we look at this, the gross darkness, it began in Genesis, right? And this is the thing me and the Father were going back and forth over today. I'm sure I'm not going to share none of that because I'm still percolating. Yeah, I'm still percolating. But Genesis 1, verse 2 shows the condition before divine order and light emerged. It was not about the sun, moon, and the stars. That's a whole nother area of scripture where the sun, the moon, and the stars were created. But when you understand what the sun, the moon, and the stars are about, you understand that the stars are literal agencies that are over nations, that they are angelic agents. When you understand that, then it's a whole lot of stuff you hear from a science perspective that you could just be like, yeah, no, right? Not doing that. You're not going to be led about like that because it's always this intention to draw you away from what the reality is in truth and bring you into this matrix, the diabolic matrix, right? So the covering of darkness, we see it in Genesis. We see the example of that, which leads me to believe that there are many falls, that there are many start overs. And if Job is the oldest book in the Bible, then I believe that Job was even before this time. I'm not doing that. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Not now. Job is the oldest book. So in that being the oldest book, we see this conversation or this thread of the gods showing up before the Father. This one came and Satan came also, right? Satan being that one who is the accuser. And there are many Satans and they all have their own objectives. But the ultimate goal is to separate us, via whatever their ultimate idea is that they're planting to try to bring that disruption in mankind. Say something real quick, Prophet. I'm going to pull something up real quick. I need my note on something real quick.
Wow. I don't even know where to go right now. I can go way, 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 way back to something you said earlier, but I won't. No,
Go way back.
I won't.
Cool.
Sonship is a skill. Mess me up.
Oh yeah. It is.
Yeah, that's a whole nother teaching, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But man, this is like weighted. This is like meat. Yeah. I'm sitting here like just scratching my head. I'm like all in this word. I'm not doing anything. I'm just all in this word right now.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm. Wow. No, y'all be glorified because, like I said, I didn't want to do
That's how you know
it.
you're naturally called to it.
Yeah, that's definitely,
Yes, when
definitely.
it's something
Okay.
you don't want to do.
I'm like, why today? He like, you got 2 more days, girl. Come on. Come on, girly. Get to it. I didn't think I was going to be ready to have this discussion because I was really so tied up in what I was experiencing earlier. And that became the focal point of my day. Right?
If it was for no one else, it was definitely for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be glorified.
Yes.
You're going to get that
Yes,
anyway.
absolutely.
All right, where are we at here? All right. So we're in darkness covering the face of the earth. We did that. I want you to see the expressions of light that emerged. And this is how you identify the fact that there were many falls, many rebellions, and all these different things. But the Father always kept for himself a remnant, always keeps for himself a man that would come forward to begin to start this cycle of illumination all over again. If you look at what happened to Abel and Cain slewing him, and then Cain, that perpetuation of sin and darkness is moving. And Cain, he got the audacity to complain that this punishment is too hard, right? Crazy. But what happens is that when Seth comes on the scene, his lineage represents the restoration of divine alignment. Because the word declares that then men begin to call upon the name of Yah. When Seth was born. You understand? That's in Genesis chapter 4, verse 26. And Luke 3:38 lets us know that Seth was a part of the divine lineage leading to the Mashiach, leading to Yeshua. It's a thread that's moving through the scriptures and through the word. The goal of these malevolent gods was corruption of the likeness and image, which I shared with you already. So the fallen members of the council, their objective is to distort the divine image in humanity, breaking the link between the code and the creator. And they replace obedience with rebellion, light with false illumination, and unity with domination. This answers a whole bunch of stuff. Genesis 3:5, you shall be as gods. The first counterfeit algorithm that was placed in man's mind in the garden. They already were. But that was because this shining one resembled them, looked like them, she was drawn to it, and the conversation seemed like it was right. But the conversation was going left the whole time. She just lost her intimacy. And when she lost her intimacy, in other words, identity on the word of Yah being the most valuable thing she could have received, she was open to something else. Romans 1:23-25, they changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man. Systems of control. Every age manifests their influence through political empires, false religions, economic powers, and digital algorithmic corruption. These systems aim to maintain separation between mankind and his true nature as divine offspring. Ephesians 6:12, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this world. Colossians 2:15, the Mashiach disarmed principalities and powers. Okay? You'll understand the algorithmic disruption or the digital piece in a minute. Because I'm really speaking to, you'll understand that in a minute. I got a bunch to go through. I don't think I'm going to get through all of this tonight, but there is tomorrow. I think I'm going to stop after this one, as a matter of fact, because we haven't even read the gods' names. We haven't read who they are and what they represent so that people can identify what they're dealing with. Let me see. Where am I going to stop? These systems aim to maintain separation between mankind and its true nature as divine offspring. I gave you those verses. So the reality of principalities and powers, not religion, but architecture. Behind every system is an intention. Powers, principalities, and dominions are not mythological. They are unseen infrastructure of Earth's governance. You got to get this. Every institution has a spiritual algorithm behind it, an intention, a definition, a motive, or a reason. Daniel chapter 10 will give you an insight on that. Verse 13-21 talks about the regional princes over Persia and Greece. This goes to divine systems too. They all have intention, definition, motive, and reason. Motive is not a negative word. Okay? Ephesians 3:10, that now the manifold wisdom of Yah might be made known to the principalities and powers in the heavenly places. This is the ultimate outcome when the sons arise. Okay? When we step into our authentic identity. This is the purpose of that. So that not only the earth is satisfied by the manifestation and getting a reset, but making known to the principalities and powers in heavenly places the arising, the illumination of sons, that whatever they was doing didn't work. So the restoration of image and likeness, Yah's redemptive work through Yeshua restores man to his original algorithm, the image and likeness of Yah, and the sons are being recoded to govern rightly, overturning the thrones of the false gods. And here are some scriptures, Genesis 1:26, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. If you are operating in that image and likeness, then you have authority over these entities. It's automatic. And you are operating in your authentic, intimate relationship with Yah, you're in the right space. You are their replacement. From an earth position, you are their replacement to see the manifestation and the mandate of the kingdom of Yah move forward. 2 Corinthians 3:18, we are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory. So the earth is not natural terrain. Every region, system, and sphere is under spiritual jurisdiction, whether it's divine or fallen. Genesis 6 and 11 reveal the two core events that shape global governance, and the descent and corruption of divine beings was in Genesis 6. The division and distribution of nations was Genesis 11. From that point, Yah's redemptive algorithm began, realigning through the line of Seth, the covenant of Abraham, and the embodiment of Yahushua, the living algorithm who restores creation's code. I'm going to stop there tonight before we get to midnight. Talk to me, Prophet.
Woo. I got to go and re-unpack this word.
Yes, ma'am.
For tonight. I have no words other than to Yah be all the glory.
Yah be glorified.
This has been life-changing.
Wow.
This has shifted the systems of my mind.
Thank you, Father.
When I say that I've ascended just sitting here on this live,
Thank you.
and I'm no longer looking at my circumstances the same way.
Thank you, Father.
So you had to get on this live for me.
Yeah.
If it was for nobody else.
Yeah.
I've learned so much. I've ingested, I've digested so much. So much until it's like when obviously I'm a chef, and outside of, chefing, I like to, read novels, and I just like to read anything, medical journals, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like when you read one, when you eat something that's really good, or you read a book, or you get on a book and there's like a series or a television show, you're like, okay, I got to watch the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go back and eat another slice of this. Oh my God, this is what I'm getting out of the gods of Enigma.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. Totally shifted.
Thank you, Father.
Totally shifted. I will never be the same.
Thank you, Father.
So many nuggets. As I stated earlier to the people, I myself have so many nuggets that I'm going to apply to every area of my life from this live. When I say facets of my life that have been decoded tonight, but coded based upon the word, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah. So to Yah be the glory for your obedience, for your yes. And because of your yes, because of you yielding, I got my deliverance.
Thank you, Father. And you know what? That deliverance was a result of you being able to follow the instructions. For best instructions, For best results, follow these instructions.
Mm-hmm.
You trusted me.
I did.
You said yes.
I did.
That's how deliverance works.
Yes.
People making it real hard. They want a bunch from him, but they don't give nothing to him.
And it was like I was sitting here and I said, man, I said, man, I said the Rico game.
That's serious. That's so serious.
The Rico gang has made this so complicated,
So cumbersome.
so cumbersome. And it's like I'm sitting here, was like, that's all.
That's it.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Like,
If it don't have the 3 rings and the master in the middle and the lions and the tigers and the bears, oh my, most people don't want nothing to do with it.
when I say a precious gift,
My
a
God.
precious gift that has taken time to prepare and to be prepared, and that has been unwrapped tonight
My God.
to be exposed to the hearts of the people that are hungry to find out whether or not I have the skills just to be a son.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm done. That's all I got to say.
Good.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Our Father is amazing. He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Listen, I love y'all. I'll probably be on late tomorrow night too, because I'm gonna be in a space after this broadcast.
I've already missed you. I told you what was going on with me. So yeah,
I'll be in a space, and that's what it is.
it is.
So it'll probably be late tomorrow night too. So if y'all too busy for late night revelation, I'm sorry.
We were in the clubs late. Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, not sorry.
Right.
Because the reality is, I just feel like the Father's doing things the way He wants to do them.
Right.
You know, He's like, you want it? Come on.
Right.
Where your oil at? Where your oil at? Where your lamp at?
Absolutely.
Trimmed and burning. Is it going to be able to be sustained?
You said it in the prophetic word. Blessed are those who obey without having the coordinates.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that took me out.
that's it.
Oh Lord.
That's it.
Like,
Well,
this
it's not 6 o'clock in the evening.
bedtime, for real.
Right. It's not 5 o'clock in the evening. It's late. Blessed are those
Blessed are those
who obey without having the coordinates.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is that we live in an age where everybody wants things their way. And I say, just go to Burger King. Just go to Burger King, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to have it your way.
Facts.
If they make it right. You know, if they can do it according to your specifications.
Right.
We live in people so slow.
Woo.
I used to go to Burger King and order a Whopper with no meat, and that just used to baffle the mind, you know?
Right.
Whopper, no meat, make it just like you make it. Just don't put the meat on it.
Don't put the meat on it.
What's so hard about that?
Simple.
Simple. It's the same thing with this, with salvation. It's the same thing with deliverance. It's the same thing with all of this. It's simple. All you got to do for best results, follow these instructions.
Follow these instructions.
It's simple. But we got to get all the things that have taken root in the mind and the man move in order for the river to flow.
Yes, absolutely.
That's just the bottom line. So I love y'all. Y'all not gonna make me
you all.
Thank you for being on with me, Prophet. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love you so much. Thank you. It was a humble honor.
Yes, ma'am. I love you more. I
love you
tomorrow night because I love sharing the space with my brothers and sisters, with the you know, with the fivefold. That's something that I just at some point we're gonna have everybody on. I need evangelists. I need apostles. I need prophets. I need pastors, I need teachers. It's a whole setup that has to happen.
Yes.
In order for it not to be the Rico gang, you know?
Right. No Rico gang.
No Rico gangs. We don't want that.
No, we don't want the Rico gang.
We don't need it. So I love y'all. Listen, the body is not a me thing. It's a we thing. And that's why we're here to share this word with you. And also, I want you to remember that you're blessed, and don't forget it. I'll see you tomorrow, probably 8:30. Yeah, probably 8:30. If I decide to do it sooner, you'll be aware because I'll post it and put the time. But make sure you set your bell notifications. Make sure you're following me on Facebook to get notified when we go live. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Shalom, shalom.